Welcome to the Solution Podcast, guys. I hope you guys are doing all right. Today, we're going to be talking about Jeffrey Epstein court files. Apparently, they have been released, and today I've got with me John Michelle. How you been, bro? You all right?
I'm good, bro. How you been?
Not too bad, brother. Not too bad.
Mhm.
This Jeffrey Epstein situation, first let's give the people some a bit of background on this story right here, because I thought this story was done with, to be honest with you, but apparently not. The bra OG1, how you doing? How you doing, my guy? First, I see you, I see you. Yes, so let me just read out quickly, so to give people an idea of what's been going on, of what has happened recently, the latest developments, basically. Okay, so Jeffrey Epstein list who is named in court filings. The names of dozens of people connected to the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein were made public with the release of court documents. Who are they? Public figures, including Prince Andrew and former US President Bill Clinton, are among the associates. Friends and alleged victims named in the 900 pages unsealed on the order of a judge in New York. Both the former US president and the British royal deny any knowledge of Epstein's crimes. Many names in the documents are mentioned in passing as part of various legal proceedings, and the inclusion does not suggest wrongdoing related to Epstein. They contain no major new allegations about Epstein, no revelations about his associates. Epstein took his own life in jail in 2019 while awaiting trial. His friend and former girlfriend, Ghislaine Maxwell, is serving 20 years in prison for child sex trafficking, who is now named in the documents. So we've got Prince Andrew. Why has this story resurfaced?
Mhm. I think there's always been this fascination with this island that he owned and who would have attended there. Because we get the idea, the perception is that this was an island full of basically a sex island, uh, similar to and there has been similar island. There was one that's off the coast of South Africa where a lot of South African politicians used to go and abuse children. So these is not new in terms of having these islands set up for the various nefarious activities, which
Hmm.
include having sex with minors. These are not new things. These have happened over time already.
Yeah.
I think there's always been a fascination with the list because um, for a couple of reasons. Number one, because it may suggest that there's been some um, crime committed by the people on the list, but also, and this is the interesting one for me, is that I believe that Epstein was basically an agent, probably working for Mossad or some other secret intelligence gathering agency. His job was to basically snare people into doing things with underage children whilst being filmed, which would then be used as a form of blackmail or coercion. And this is not just me talking. I mean, you can look this up. There's loads of people. I mean, he had an apartment in New York, and in this apartment, one of the weird things was a picture of apparently Bill Clinton in a dress. I've been told there was a picture of Bill Clinton in a dress or something like that. But also there was when they raided the home, there was loads of secret cameras found in the house. Loads of secret cameras. So that tells you right there. You only have that's a setup literally for these sting operations. Um, if you look at some of the also there's films like if you look at one of the Crave films, and there's another film as well that show you how they set up these situations where they have these sex parties, and there's some filming going on in the background, and that can be then used to blackmail the people that are on the film. So this is an old this is an old technique that these secret societies and these secret intelligence covering organizations do, where they entice people in, coerce them with drugs and prostitution or underage sex, and then they have that on film and they present it to them at a later date. Basically, this is what we have on you. So if there's certain things we need you to do or to expose other people, just remember we have this file on you. And I actually do believe that that was his main role. I think that was Epstein's main role, and I think that's why he himself was able to continue in his abuse for so long. Is because he was compromising other people. So when you look at that list, you're looking at potential people who have potentially been coerced into this type of behavior and who people may have information on. That's why I'm very interested in looking at that list. It doesn't mean everyone on the list was also involved in this behavior, but there's people on that list that just when you look at that list, just know there's people on there that have been involved in behavior that is on film and that can be used against them. Just have that
Wow.
in mind.
Wow. Shouts to KD, shouts to the bro OG1. Hassan, how you doing, bro? You all right?
I'm good. How are you?
Not too bad, not too bad. Today we've got John Michelle. Just waiting for Jake to join us as well. And but yeah, KD asked, "Where's Jake? Where's Jake? I don't know. Hopefully he'll join us at some point. But yeah, do reach out to him because I know he wanted to be a part of this from the very beginning.
Twitter's the best place, probably.
Oh, there he is. There he is. There he is. Is asking for the link. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Yeah, Hassan, why has this story resurfaced? Hassan, can you hear me? Hassan might be busy. I'm sure he'll. And by the way, I agree with you. I agree with you, John Michelle. Absolutely, 100%. I think that's exactly what's going on. Sorry, guys, I'm just typing this link over to what's his name. As you guys know, when it comes to technology, I'm absolutely uh, not that good at all. I'm useless when it comes to technology. But yeah, I'm just gonna send the link out. Hassan, you still there?
I'm still here. It's cutting out. Though I've got poor reception, so it might go in and out. I don't know if you can hear me now.
I can hear you now. Why
Mine's
has
a bit
this
sketchy.
story resurfaced, in your opinion?
I think I heard you. I think I heard you say, "Why is the story resurfaced?" Very bad connection. Why has the story resurfaced? Because I think the documents are starting to come out now. Details are starting to come out, and it's some interesting people. I think a couple of weeks ago, I remember seeing a guy. If you check on YouTube, there's a guy called Eric Weinstein. He's a professor, I think at Harvard or Yale or MIT, and he
Mhm.
was talking about his interaction with him. He's a famous mathematician, and his interaction with him and how strange it was. It would be a really good because he's the only person who's actually been tried who he's tried to seduce and who's come out and said what the experience is like. If you type in YouTube, Eric Weinstein reveals a terrifying meeting with Jeffrey Epstein. Eric Weinstein. He's a popular guy on YouTube. Also on Joe Rogan. He comes on Joe Rogan's podcast.
What?
But this is
What?
going to be
Hmm.
it's going to be interesting in the next couple of weeks what happens because I'm surprised that we're even seeing the list, but uh, it's because can you imagine the people who arranged his self deletion what they must be going through right now?
You see what I don't get about this story, right? I mean, who amongst first of all, let's just look. Who believes that he committed suicide while in jail?
I don't believe that, but I also don't believe that the people that did away with him are the ones that are on that list.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think so. I think the people that did it are the ones that his handlers, the people that he was submitting the information to in terms of the footage of these people that he was compromising.
Yeah.
I believe that they were the people that deleted him because when you're an agent for a very powerful intelligence gathering organization, you're only good to them as long as you're doing the job. When you become when you're in a situation where you can no longer do the job and you're a liability, because that's what he would have become, it makes perfect sense for them to do away with him because he's no longer needed and he's a liability. So I don't think it's the people. Yeah, I don't think it's the people that he was gathering information on that were in charge of his deletion. I think it was the handlers.
It was the handlers, isn't it? I mean, the fact that he died in jail lets me know that powerful people are involved in this. Okay, so why release these documents? Why release these documents and expose these names? For what reason? What are they trying to prove by releasing the names of all of these people? I'm sure if they are releasing the names of all of these people, I'm sure they are. I'm sure these people must be innocent if their names are going to become public. How you doing, Jake? Are you all right?
Okay. Yeah. Am I in? Yeah, I'm in. All right.
Jake, meet John Michelle. You already know.
Nice to meet you.
What's up? What's up, bro? Nice to meet you, man.
Good, bro. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
I was just basically saying that if these names, I don't see why the release of these documents is so interesting, and why all of these names mentioned and so on. He was known for his parties. It doesn't necessarily mean that they've done anything wrong, But the thing is, if this guy could be killed in jail, the names of these people can't be. I mean, they can't be that problematic.
So are you saying, Octavio, that him being killed in jail means that because he was killed in jail means that the names on that list can't be they're not a problem? Is that what you're implying?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Jake, think about it. If they can kill you while in jail, while locked up, all right, and make up some rubbish, some bullshit, and say, "Oh, he committed suicide." I mean, imagine the power you have to be able to do that. So what are we going to have?
I understand that.
Are we going to have a repeat of what happened to what's his name, Jeffrey Epstein? Are we going to have a repeat of that? Someone else is going to be accused, and then they're going to be locked up, and then they're going to commit suicide. Are we going to have that all over again?
No, I mean, here's the thing, Octavio. I think when it came to the Epstein situation, Epstein, had a lot of client lists. Like the flight logs came out before the documents came out. There was already a list of flight logs that were already there. This included like Jim Carrey was on there, Jimmy Kimmel, Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton. Prince Andrew, of course. I mean, the list was huge amount of celebrities, etc. Well-known name people. Who else?
Chris Tucker was there. I think it was one of the names.
Chris Tucker, well. Yeah. Chris Tucker Campbell as well. Yeah, a lot of famous people. A lot of famous people. And so the thing is, when he has a clientele that is that big, of course, the rumors are, who are they? Who are the ones that killed Jeffrey Epstein apparently in there? Most people are guessing it was the Clintons. Most people are guessing it was some kind of left-wing organization that likes their pedophilia. Can we all agree on that?
No, I don't agree with that.
You don't agree on that? Okay. Remember, he was running the biggest child trafficking scam in the world. The biggest one. Okay. This could literally destroy so many people, expose so many people for what they were doing on that island. There's already emails that have proven that there was like rituals going on that island that were including like blood rituals, child molestation, gay sex, gay consensual, consensual sex, a lot of crazy shit. So all of this shit is documented that has, anything that's going to be illegal is going to be revealed to us. But yeah, man, obviously a lot of these people are panicking. It's a really big deal because it's going to expose so many of these pedophilia globalists that we've already know exist. This is why they're in panic mode. And the reason why they killed out Epstein is because Epstein was going to willingly give them the names. Because I don't know if you knew this, but Epstein was hired by the FBI to take down a couple of human traffickers. When he first got convicted of it, he did some FBI work for them to take down other traffickers, bro. So he had already had a history with them as well. So it makes sense that he's already a narc. It made sense that he already narked once on a few doing business with other people, with other FBI agents. So it would make sense that this guy's a narc and to kill him off as quickly as possible if he's going to give out the full blacklisting of his clients,
So yeah,
Does that make
I
sense?
agree with a lot of what you're saying. I think where I differ with you
Octavio,
is I
you look
don't believe
confused.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. Let John Michelle go. And
Yeah,
Okay.
I think there was some very nefarious behavior happening on that island that I definitely believe involved young children. I do believe that he was an agent, not just for the FBI, for probably other intelligence gathering organizations, which I've mentioned before.
Yeah.
I believe
Yeah.
a lot of the people on the list were not actually his friends. They were people that he was actually collecting evidence on and then passing that evidence on to people who then had the power to use that against those people. So I don't think that he was killed by the Clintons or anyone on that list. I believe that he was killed by the people, his handlers, basically the people that he was passing that information on are ultimately the people that were in power and in control, because he was basically a very rich pawn. He was being used to gather information on other people. It's the people. I've always said that.
Yeah.
I said the people that whoever's got those tapes, that's the power. Whoever has those tapes that they gathered, not just from the island, but from his apartment in New York, which was full of CCTV, hidden CCTV. Whoever has that information is the real power here, and we'll never find out who those people are. And those are the people that killed him in the cell.
So how come the intelligence agencies that he was working for did not protect him against, whoever killed him?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. Yeah. Again, the intelligence agencies.
It doesn't add up to me. It just doesn't add up to me. If you are, well, basically what you guys are saying is he was undercover, and I mean, when you're working for someone like FBI, you're not a nobody, and people that killed him would have been aware that he was undercover and he was connected to FBI and all of these intelligence agencies. What doesn't make sense is while in jail, he obviously didn't commit suicide. He was obviously killed. Why did they? Why wasn't him under their protection to make sure that nothing happened to him? While he was going through the trial.
Well, who has the money talks though? Go on, Hassan.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of this doesn't make sense. You have Eric Weinstein. I saw a video of Eric Weinstein talking about his interaction with him, how he met him, and how he tried to seduce him. And he had a little camera when he went to his house. He could see a little, I don't know what type of camera it's called, but a tiny camera just pointed at him while they were talking. And he said that this person wasn't a real person, and he was concocted by some agency somewhere. Eric Weinstein, he's a professor at MIT. You might have seen him on the Joe Rogan podcast. And so he was doing an interview describing his interaction with him. It just genuinely doesn't make sense to me. It's just it's a sloppy job. Who does it lead to? I don't know. It's all pretty confusing, to be honest.
Yeah,
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 go
son. Yeah. No, I was gonna say, yeah, I know you're right on that. I'm just saying, yeah, it is a sloppy job. It's not like, it's almost like they wanted, they didn't care whether you believe that he offed himself in jail or he was murdered. Like they didn't care what you gave a crap about of it. Cause at the end of the day, the media is still going to call you conspiracy theorists no matter what. I think these guys don't care about how sloppy the job is because it's going to get covered up either way. And then
The
Octavio also
argument,
mentioned something about, go on.
yeah, the argument that it was Mossad, that was my first thought, but the people he entrapped were pretty much pro-Israel, very pro-Israel. So,
Oh, really?
yeah, like Eric Weinstein, he's very pro-Israel. Bill Clinton, obviously, former
Yeah.
president, I said he's going to be pro-Israel. A lot of professors, a lot of wealthy people, they're going to be pro-Israel. I mean, Mossad
Yeah,
has
of
nothing
course.
to fear of the people that they try to entrap. It's like is he a failed project or something? Or
Yeah, I'm less
I
confused. I'm
mean,
less confused. I really am less confused than
me as well?
than you guys on this. I don't see. I see it as very straightforward. I see it as a guy, an agent that was no longer credible, no longer useful, got himself arrested. Um, his own debauchery made him less of a very good agent. Was arrested and killed. They killed him. Um, they do this all the time. It doesn't matter if we. It's not. It's not. If the man's dead, it's all they're concerned about. It's not. It's not sloppy because it's never up to now. We're still speculating as to what happened. So it was not. It was not sloppy. It was a well executed hit that nobody will be arrested for. No, it won't be investigated as a murder. Officially, it's a suicide. So it's not a sloppy hit. It's a
I,
very orchestrated assassination of an agent who lived out his purpose and
I, I get
unuseful at some point.
I get the way they disposed of him being very
Mm.
succinct and because the CCTV was taken. I get that. That's a very clean job. But when I say sloppy, I mean I, as the average individual living in London, I know way too much about very
can notice
important
it.
people. Yeah, I have way too much access to. Like I didn't even. Why would the richest man in the world, Bill Gates, be on somebody else's plane? If you gotta go somewhere, you take your own plane. And why are you going on somebody else's plane more than however many times he was on the log? And this is enough to destroy your marriage. You have other people of note talking about meeting him. You have, I know this island that's meant to be a pedophile paradise. I know I can find it on a map. I've got pictures of it. You've got people that coming out that work there. I've got images. I know what the guy looks like. I know what he was doing from since the 80s. I know his client list. I know way too much as just a random person. Usually this stuff is this type of detail isn't even exposed by somebody from the inside, but from the outside looking in. It's an orgy of evidence, as they'll say.
Mm.
Go ahead, Jake.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, what Hassan meant by, yeah, sloppy, he's totally right on that, bro. I think like people like us that do a lot of talking, we talk about this stuff on the daily. You have to realize the average person doesn't do this. They don't have conversations so often. And so the average person is going to look at that and like what JM said, it's going to be a very well orchestrated hit, and they're going to believe that he probably committed suicide, right? That's what the belief system's going to be. So that's the thing. But you have to realize that 10 years ago or so, this was all conspiracy theorists. You know, this is all theory. Like nobody, if you like 5 years ago, anytime before 2018, 2017, if you would have said there's a pedophile island out there that the elites go over there and party and do weird rituals and probably have sexual intercourse with underage girls, you're going to be called crazy. I think the only one that I can recall that was saying that shit at that time was Alex Jones. And that was about it, really. So So again, now that it's mainstream, yeah, you could look at things and be like, wow, that's a sloppy job. That's a sloppy job because we're a little bit more aware of the world, of how the world works now. So of course that's sloppy, but if they did that same hit 5 years ago and had this guy commit suicide in jail, nobody would bat an eye and nobody would care, or nobody would care to think about it as much to say, you know what, he probably got killed off by the Clintons or people associated with the Clintons or higher ups there. I mean, it becomes obvious at that point, but that's the point I think Hassan was trying to make there.
I reckon that look, listen, if he was indeed working for the FBI and if he was collecting intel for the FBI in order to bring a few people to justice, this is the people that killed him would have had to be. I mean, it would have had to be the FBI. The FBI would have had to be involved in the same, nonsense. You see, this is the part that doesn't make sense to me. So he was hired to do a job, and then he served this purpose and he gets killed. Okay, fine, but not by the FBI. You see, to me, the FBI would have had to be involved, or whatever intelligence agency he was working for would have had to be involved in his own in that type of assassination, which would mean that they would be working with the powers that be that wanted him dead in the first place for being an agent and gathering intel to bring them to justice. So that means that I just can't believe that they would have had more power than the FBI to go to that to prison and have him killed there. That's the part that I.
What can't you believe? Who's they?
Okay, when I say all right, he was working as undercover, all right, in order to collect intelligence so that he can expose the powers that be that are out here doing these rituals and sacrificing kids, or pedophile, are involved in pedophile rings, right? So if he was hired by
he was hired to do agent work to go. Yeah, he was hired to do, just to correct you real quick, he was hired to do work with intelligent agencies to bring down other human traffickers. Not saying that those human traffickers were at the island with rich people partying or anything like that. I'm not saying that. He was working with them to take down other traffickers because at the time when he got convicted, I think like in 2013 or something like that for child trafficking, he got let off, of course, but he was working with agencies to take down others, right? That's okay. What it was. He wasn't actually taking down anybody super big or anything like that.
Right.
Oh, he wasn't. Okay.
And I think, Nelson, that's a key point, what Jake is saying. I think that was probably the his first steps into being used by these organizations. I think that was that was like an initiation, I believe, where he was bringing down other these rings. I think at a higher level, he was being used by another organization to actually provide intel on very powerful people for them to have some type of leverage on these individuals in the future. So I do believe that he was used by the FBI at that level, but I think there was some other work going on with a different organization at a higher level, more powerful. The FBI is basically that's the US. They work within from my understanding, they work with. He was dealing with. I mean, this is international. We're talking about at this level, and I think there would have been another organization at a higher level, a more internationally based organization that would have had him doing this extra work, which was about gathering intel on very famous people all over the world that were involved in these alleged pedophilia.
Yeah, when I look at the kind of people that that surrounded him, that were around him, I mean, you're talking about Bill Clinton. You're talking about some very powerful people here. You're talking about Donald Trump. These are not some small rings. This is a big deal. These are some of the most powerful people in the world, richest people in the world, famous people in the world. So this idea that he was just taking down small rings, I don't think so. I really don't think so. I think I just, it doesn't make sense to me. Whoever
I
killed
can,
that, it just
I
doesn't
can,
make sense to me. You know,
I
he
can.
was hired to do a job. Hold on a second. He was hired to do a job, but then they end up killing him. But the powers that be end up killing him, and he couldn't be protected by the people that hired him to do the job. You know, unless the powers that be, to me, unless the powers that be and these agencies, or you know, agencies that he was working for were working together. Unless they were working together, I don't see how he couldn't have been protected while in prison. You know, I just doesn't make sense to me.
Um,
I can hear Jake twitching in his seat because you mentioned Donald Trump. So okay, I know. Don't defend. You need to
what?
defend Trump, man.
I wasn't actually, but but no, I was actually going to ask, do you guys remember all the circumstances that led up, like after Epstein was found dead in the jail cell, like all the weird shit that happened leading into that? Do you guys remember all that crap? Like the camera happened to cut out at
The
the
guards
right
falling
exact
asleep.
time. The
The guards
guard,
were asleep.
yeah, the guards were asleep. A lot of weird shit, bro. So a lot of weird shit happened, and then it was cut off. So when Octavio's saying like, well, I'm not too sure how could the FBI not protect him if he was useful, and then how could these guys want to kill him off if he was useful too? The whole deal is that the FBI and the powers that be, or whatever intelligence agency he was working with at the time, the point is that they're not friends with each other, bro. I mean, maybe they are for a certain amount of money, but at the end of the day, if you pay off enough people that are in the lower areas, you can get away with a lot because money talks, bro. And these are some of the richest people in the world, so they can pay off whoever they need to pay off to get whatever needs to get done. To a certain degree, Epstein, dude, being held in a prison area could possibly be paid off. Obviously, somebody had to get paid for this guy to die. So that, I mean, there's no question. If you truly believe he got killed, he was murdered, and he didn't off himself, obviously people were paid for the camera to mess up, for the guards to be asleep, for whatever reason they were asleep. All of this shit had to be paid off. And who has enough money to do that? Of course, people that need agendas to get done. So it's not hard for me. You know, it's not very hard to believe that that's what it was. And this guy had connections and he had dirt on a lot of people.
My theory is very, very.
Go on, Hassan.
My theory is very simple, and it all starts off with. Sorry, my audio is very bad. It might cut out. It's horrible. I think it has something to do with the Matrix, or somebody's trying to stop this conversation. So. I'm never gonna self-delete, just to let you guys know. But
good to know that.
But
me too.
But it all starts off with, for me, the one point that I thought to myself, this now starts to make sense, is when he received a gift from the CEO of Victoria's Secret. The CEO of Victoria's Secret gave him a £70 million house, $70 million house as a gift. Now, when you look at him, he's a man in his 80s or something like this, head of Victoria's Secret is basically a modeling agency. I'm assuming here, I'm making a lot of assumptions here, but I think he would have probably facilitated young women to people of high positions, and then that led him to other people who led him to other people. And I think he was just a glorified pimp. And I think he just was stuck in the right place at the right time for his intelligence agencies to take advantage of him, wealthy people to take advantage of him. And then he maybe got a bit full of himself because ultimately he was just a professor. He was just a professor, nothing more than that. Not that that's to be looked down upon, but he wasn't a person from the Secret Service. He's not from he wasn't a person who's got top clear, what you call it, security clearance. He's not from a military background. He didn't have a job within the Secret Service. It was the secret, the FBI or the CIA or whatever. He didn't work for the government. I think it was just purely circumstantial. And Ghislaine Maxwell was one of the people that I assume helped propel him to that position. Ultimately, a glorified pimp. That's my position.
So, are you guys aware of what Epstein was also working on? He was actually funding a lot of very strange research into cell regeneration, trying to prolong life, the human life. He was also looking. There was also some information about how this whole agenda. Because Jake mentioned agendas, in terms of this genderless type of society that they're going for. And it's interesting you mentioned Victoria, because if you know what Victoria's Secret is, Hassan, you know Victoria's Secret is it's a man. That's what Victoria's Secret is. That's what the secret is. And I also,
okay.
Say
yeah,
that,
that's
say
what
that again. John Michelle.
Victoria's Secret. The name, to people that understand that name, Victoria's Secret. The secret is it's a man. Victoria is a man. Don't take my word for it, guys. Look this up. Okay, I'm going to say some crazy things. This
I need to
evening.
look that up, man.
Victoria's a Victor. Fair enough.
So
Victoria's Secret.
is not what we usually think of when
Remember,
we think.
these guys put stuff out in the open. If you know about the great Jordan Maxwell, he used to say to you, look at the words. Always look at the words that they use, right? And another point I want to make is this film that came out, the Sound of Freedom film that came out. That has exposed a lot, and I think there's a lot of people that are that's been a bit of a shake-up, that film, in terms of exposing just how widespread this whole pedophilia ritualistic stuff is, and how much the so-called elites of this world are very much tied into this type of taking away children's innocence. Just to say that.
Can I just?
We can get into deeper, because as Nelson knows, there's a much deeper spiritual element to all of this, which involves some ritualistic magic. But I don't know how deep Nelson wants us to go on this particular video.
Oh yeah,
But Nelson, we can get very, very deep with this if we want.
We can go there. We're gonna go there. But the thing is, what I wanted to ask is, I find this odd. Like, I really found it odd. Just reading through, the lady that came forward and brought the allegations against what's her name, the
Bill Clinton.
Maxwell woman, right? The one who's in jail right now.
Yeah.
It's what surprised me.
Jelani Maxwell.
Yeah. What surprised me about the whole thing is how careless. According to the story goes, he hires these people, these recruiters, to go around and recruit girls. And these are normal girls, all right? These are normal American girls, and they apparently the youngest was 14 years old or something like that. I know plenty about the occult, okay? And 14-year-old girls are not they're a bit too old for them. But the thing is, apparently they just go around and they just recruit these girls, and some of them become regulars, some don't, and it's so careless. The whole thing is careless. I mean, this guy is operating at a very high level. He's around very powerful people. But when I saw the entire operation, so he had girls waiting for him at his residence in New York, his residence in Florida, his residence, Palm Beach. He has all these he hires these recruiters to recruit these girls, and these girls will be waiting for him in his house. And I was thinking to myself, and then he pays them, a few $100s or whatever. What doesn't make sense to me is how careless the whole operation was. They can just go, and some of them become regular, some of them don't come back again. Didn't it cross his mind that one of them was eventually going to go to the authorities or report him or say anything? It just, when you look at the actual story itself, it just looks ridiculous to me. It looks too careless for someone who's extremely high up and they are operating, at a completely different level. That doesn't make sense to me. What do you guys think about that?
I can make a quick point. I know I spoke before, but I just want to make a quick point. In the craze, going back, I was watching a story about the craze. One of the craze went into a pub and shot a guy straight in the head, in front of everyone. He didn't get prosecuted for that for years after. The point I'm making, the sloppiness that you're talking about, Nelson, is not the issue. These guys know when it gets to the prosecution level, they're covered. You see what I mean? They're protected. So they can literally do what they want out in society, have witnesses, have suspects, but when they get to the prosecution level, that's where they're covered. That's where the story, that's where it ends. You see what I mean?
Mm.
And that's how they get away with it, because they've got it covered at the key point. The prosecution level is where they have their friends at.
So pride. So he thought he was above the law. Is that what you think, Jake? What do you reckon?
What you're talking about Epstein? Do I think Epstein believed himself to be above the law? Is that the question?
Yeah, I mean, because and I understand everything that John shows is actually talking about. It makes sense. But the thing is, I just thought that they would be a little bit more careful than that. What do you reckon, Jake?
Well, because the thing is, if you ever look at like human trafficking, human traffickers on how they recruit or how they get people under them, like how they kidnap these people, they usually do it with like ads, right? They'll put ads in papers, like actual ads, like getting women stuff that women want to, like a job, etc. And they usually get women from across like areas, right? And they'll do advertisements to get them there. Once they coerce them and they get him into the area, that's when they kidnap him. So there's a lot of ways. Obviously now with like media, so social media cameras are now, everybody has a camera these days. A lot of these traffickers have to adjust to things, right? So his initial way of what you explained earlier, where he had girls recruiting other girls to coming in, right? Paying them for sex, etc. That's how it's always been with a pimp, right? You need a woman under your wing in order for the woman to convince other women to join them in a prostitution ring or whatever you're pitching out to them. Okay, women can convince women to do things better than men convincing women to do things. So a lot of his operation of how it started, what you were explaining earlier, actually makes a lot of sense, Octavio. Now, obviously, as time goes on and people get more and more adjusted to what's going on in the world, yes, it becomes to where it's like you got to readjust your game plan. But I think probably during that time, technology wasn't as frequent. The news wasn't as thought up, or the news was more believed back then. And not only that, Jeffrey Epstein already knows that he's a conspiracy theory. People don't think that what he's doing actually exists. So he lives in a world where people don't know about Epstein. People don't know who this guy is. People just think that he's a conspiracy theory. The only one that knew was Alex Jones, and he doesn't give a fuck about Alex Jones. So yeah, it's a lot easier during that time to actually get away with a lot of those things. It makes sense to me, anyways.
That's a good point, though. That's a good point. What would these victims do? What would these victims do? Would they go up to a police station and say, "I've just been molested by Bill Clinton and Bill Gates"? Nobody's going to listen to them.
It's ridiculous.
No. Listen. Well, that's exactly what happened, and look at what happened eventually. The reason I brought up that story is because I don't know if you guys heard of a story called 134 Hampstead. I don't know if you've ever heard of that story.
No.
If you know anything about that story, I mean, do research it. They have deleted most of the videos, but it was an extremely big story back in 2014, and it was called 134 Hampstead, in which two children were part of a satanic ring that operated in Hampstead, and this pedophile / satanic occult ring was basically made up of judges, was made up of extremely very powerful people, and children would be abused. There would be trafficking. There would be human sacrifices. There would be all of these type of things. Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah. And the mother of the children, she had to get out of UK. She had to fly out for her own safety. The children were interviewed in a think 3 times for about 2 hours each interview, and if you look at the operation, if you look at how those people operated, in order to carry out these, because it was actually done in broad daylight in an actual school, but it was done it was done so expertly that you would have never guessed, because these people really moved in secret. They knew what they were doing. So I just found it surprising, just reading what's his name, Jeffrey Epstein, carried out his operation. The whole thing just looked so careless.
Again, Nelson, we've got examples of this. Look at Jimmy Savile. Jimmy Savile was abusing children on the studio set of the show of Top of the Pops. There's video of us watching Top of the Pops. There's one video of him. This is live TV, and he's got his hands under a girl's thing in front of the camera. We watched this. There's footage of this. If you look this up, he was abusing children on the set of his TV shows, and they were complaining. The children were complaining. The children about 14, 15 years of age. He abused a young boy on set of one of his TV shows. The police and these people would, as a child would do, they would tell their parents would tell the police, and nothing happened. So this is what I'm saying. At some level, these guys understand I can literally do what I want in public, because, as I said before, when it gets to the prosecution level, they have made people there that cover them. They have people there that not only cover them, but maybe part of the same ring. So once you understand that level of protection, and you've got co-conspirators at a high level, you're always going to. Jimmy Savile died a free man, where everyone in the industry knew he was a paedophile. He died of. I don't know if you're aware of Jimmy Savile, Jake. I don't know if you're aware of him.
Jake, are you aware of him?
No, I'm not.
He's basically our version of Epstein, but he died an old man free. Yeah, he died. Worth looking at. He died an old, very influential TV personality that was on TV for about 50 years. I don't know what equivalent I can give you over there. I guess like a Bill Cosby, but yeah, for the whole. I mean, the whole time he was on TV, he was abusing children his whole career, and he died. In it free, and then when he died, everyone was like, "Oh, by the way, he was a pedophile."
Okay, so
that was a perfect.
If they are capable of doing that, if they are that confident, okay, why now? Why bring him down now? You see, why did this have to happen to what's his name? Someone like it looks as if he was doing his job properly, to be honest with you. Why bring him down now? If they are, and I agree with you, John Michelle. They can be that reckless because they think that they own the law, they think they're above the law. So it makes sense why they will be reckless. But then you get then some of them are brought to justice. Are brought to justice.
Yeah.
Well, so if I am that careless because I think I'm above the law, then that means I'm protected by people that are within the system of the law, right? So I'm protected by these guys, right? I'm protected by these guys. So if I go down, it means that someone does not want me. Someone wants me to go down. And you see, that's the part that I'm a bit okay. Why come out then? Why make a big deal out of this story? It goes with this list as well. Why release this list for what? I'm sure some of those people are involved in all this madness. I'm sure some of these people participated in all the stuff that he was into. Why release this list now? Who's allowing this list to be released? Who's calling the shots behind the scenes?
I remember online you can see a video of a journalist who has a hot mic. She's, I think, CNBC or Fox News or something, and this must be 2017 or something, and she's talking about how she had done a 3-year investigation on Jeffrey Epstein, and she was about to release it, but then
Oh,
it
yeah.
was by her
Yeah.
executive producer shut it down. I think you can
It was
talk about
cut.
that, Jake. Yeah. Do you want to
No,
talk about it?
yeah, I'm aware. I'm aware. Yeah, I'm aware of that. Actually, man, that's good that you bring that up because, yeah, she worked for, I think, NBC or something like that, and she was a reporter. She had all this reporting on Epstein. Like she had everything that she wanted to go after. She wanted to go after Epstein, but no journalist would touch him during that time. And Hassan, what year was this? 2013, 2014? Do you remember?
I think it looks more recent than that. I want to say 2016, maybe, but I'm not 100%
Okay.
sure. But this is well before
Yeah.
most of us knew about it, and it's a hot mic, so she's not even on camera. It's a great point. It's whom everybody knew for some reason. Everybody knew that he was doing it, and he's this famous.
And they said,
people.
"Shut up."
But then again, these people have a lot of, because you look at Bill Gates, he had a lot of money. He was drawing up a lot of funding for Theranos. I don't know if you guys know about Theranos. You probably do. So he's the kind of guy who could get a lot of funding for a lot of corporations. So's Bill Gates. So are a lot of the people. So a part of me thinks this was well known, but the people in power who could say something and expose it also got funding somehow, whether it be the academic sector, whether it be the media, whether it be, because you see a lot of these influential people, they're either involved in everything or they have influence over most things. So maybe that's what, and I think at some point, when the guy died, at some point, I think maybe just there's too many legal proceedings in place. And obviously, as you said, a lot of these legal organizations are in competition with each other, so, and aren't necessarily friends. So they're competing to expose it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting that you bring that up. So Octavio earlier was saying, what were you saying earlier, Octavio, that you're saying that, just to clarify.
Yeah. The powers that be. I mean, John Michelle brought up the point of these guys are reckless. Okay, these guys are known to be reckless. Why? Because they are protected. They understand that they are protected. That's the reason why they behave in that way, and that's the reason why they are careless and they are reckless. And a lot of them, some of them don't even get convicted, and so on.
Yeah.
So then it begs the question: what happened to to some of these guys that are brought to justice? If they are at the top,
right.
if they control the top to that level where people can be reckless publicly and no one bats an eyelid, no one cares, everyone goes along with it, okay?
Yeah.
Then why some people are brought to justice? To me, it's them who are doing the deciding. It's them. It's not real justice. It's not that someone, the justice system all of a sudden works and and people are now being brought to justice. To me, it's they control the justice system and they decide who they want to expose.
But you can only do it for so long with such consistency. Again, there are journalists back in 2017, who had 3-year investigations, willing to process the details. You have people filing lawsuits in one state or the other, going from one journalist to the other. You can only suppress something for so long, right? You have even the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia arranging, allegedly, right? Because I don't want to be. There's too many. I don't want to get self-deleted from a variety of different angles. But you have the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia arranging the assassination of a journalist, Jamal Khashoggi, who was obviously speaking out against him, sending his personal security, his secret service to Turkey, inviting other journalists to Saudi embassies across the world. This one happened to go. He was chopped up into little pieces, thrown away. And you have the Canadian, from what I hear, the Canadian president trying to bring the Crown Prince to justice over this, and then obviously that getting shut down because, who's Canada, and compared to Saudi and whatever. But they have power to do something, but they don't have power to stop it escalate in most cases, right? The less
Yeah,
it gets out,
especially
the
once it
more they
gets
can
out in the
contain it.
public.
Yeah, it's like wildfire. This fire was going on for a while in too many different places across the world. So that's I'm sure there's another 10 or 15 Epsteins around today that we don't know about. You know,
but there's been Epsteins in the past.
Yeah.
There's been always these powerful men who have been used, like Maxwell. You know, the Maxwell, the guy that they said jumped off a boat or whatever. That guy, do you know Maxwell's dad? Actually, interestingly, he was another very powerful agent, very documented powerful agent that drowned. So there's examples in history of these men that get used. They get used by these agencies for one reason or another. Sometimes we'll never find out because this is such a high level of espionage and intrigue at this level that we'll never get privy to. They get taken out for one reason that we'll never understand why. We can speculate why. Maybe they were compromised. Maybe they were no longer useful. Maybe they were. There's so many reasons we can bring up. But at the end of the day, this happens a lot. A lot of these guys are used by these people, and then they're discarded at some point because they're no longer useful. That for some reason that we'll never find out why.
Yeah. That's actually very well put, Jam, because you have to realize that when you're useful, you're a useful individual. This is why, like, when you look at celebrities are highly useful individuals. Why are they so useful? Is because those are the ones that influence the public. So if you're the devil and you want to influence massive on a quicker level, who are you going to go for in order to do that? You go for celebrities, which is a big reason why you have to, by all means necessary, protect these people's reputation. Like a Tom Hanks, he has massive influence. These movies that come out have influence on the public. So if you look at Hollywood, going back to the pedo stuff, a lot of these Hollywood celebrities are involved in a lot of these gay ritual parties, Satanism, child pedo stuff. So if you look at Hollywood, they're making main characters younger and younger, especially girls. I'll give you an example of the It movie, the remake of It movie, or it's a horror movie, whatever. One of the characters in there, they're supposed to be little kids in part one, and she's supposed to be, I think, 13 or 14 years old. There's a scene in there where the little boys are at the watering hole and she comes by and she's wearing this bikini and the camera is going up and down her body, her butt, shows her butt, her boobs, etc. And all the little boys are like, oh, horny over her. Again, this is a scene in a movie. This is run by Hollywood, pushing subconsciously to the public, people that are watching this. They're just watching it like, oh yeah, it's just a horror movie. They like It the Clown, but then they're subconsciously being fed that sexualizing a 13-year-old girl is okay. So, and they do this all the time, bro. They do this all the time. Netflix has done it, and then they push gay agenda. This is nothing new. So when you have these powers that be that want to normalize pedo, they want to normalize a homosexuality, transgenderism, human hybrids, etc. This is all part of the plan. It makes sense. So when Epstein stops becoming useful, and he is now going to be a narc against a whole Hollywood elite group that's very important to them, guess what? You're going to get killed the fuck out because you're now going to be a liability for our main plan here. Because if they get exposed, now all of a sudden you're going to wake up the other half of the West, the other half of the West that are still fucking morons, that still can't believe that Joe Biden did a great job here, that believe Joe Biden did a great job here in America. Like these leftist, wokest people. If you wake them up, they're going to lose a lot of power. So you have to protect them by all means necessary. I think that's fine.
You made one important point, Jake. What the occult practices, they want society to reflect that. Society is becoming what the occult society is looking like. If you look at what the occult does, they want the same thing for society. This is why we are seeing the sexualization of children. This is why, because they want society to accept their belief system, their way of thinking, their reality. That's what they want. And it's a
Mhm.
generations game. So every single generation, you're going to see people being more acceptant of what the occult actually teaches, be it abortion, be it the sexualization of children. I mean, they're already teaching kids, and I did a reaction to this. They're already teaching kids 9 to 10 year olds. They're teaching them that masturbation is okay. So all of this
Yeah,
is
yeah.
already happening. So, and it's all to reflect what the occult does behind closed doors. Now, there's an important figure. Um, there's an important figure called Andrew, Prince Andrew, and
Yeah.
John Michelle knows quite a lot
Yeah.
about Prince Andrew. Now, this guy has a very obscure, a very dark history, to say the least. And for some reason, he's still out. He's still out here. He's still doing what he does. He's obviously never going to go to jail, never going to see justice for all the things he's been accused of. So, John Michelle, can you just give us some
Yeah.
background on this guy, Prince?
Well, first of all, before we go to Prince Andrew, we've got to look at the royal family's history of pedophilia. Okay, Lord Mountbatten, who was I don't even heard of Lord Mountbatten. Lord Mountbatten was actually a very central figure in the lives of both Andrew and the current king. He was a mentor, their mentor. This was a prolific paedophile, and he was part of a huge paedophile ring that was in Scotland that were abusing um, children for years. This is a well-known a paedophile ring that you can look this up. There's still cases going on it now. Okay, so he comes from a family where this has happened before, but there's prominent members that have been involved in paedophilia. Prince Andrew, not only is he one of the chief people that were involved in this situation with Epstein, he would never see a moment in jail. Prince Andrew would never see a moment in jail because he was a higher level than Epstein. Remember when Epstein was first convicted and he came out, who was the first person that flew out to see him? It was Andrew.
Who was it? Andrew? Really? It was Prince Andrew?
Yeah. Prince Andrew, they were walking in the park. They were filmed walking in the park together when he got released. There's footage of this.
Wow.
This is after he was convicted of rape.
Bro, that's the thumbnail.
Prince Andrew, there you go. Prince Andrew was very well aware of who Epstein was. He was a friend of his then, and when he got released from prison, he was the first person he linked up with. So Prince Andrew is very central to this case. Now we're hearing stories that he was in not only was he abusing that girl that he said he was in the picture with, that picture that came out, and he had the nerve to say it was a doctored picture. It's come out now that he was involved in parties and he had girls on his lap that were young. Yeah, but Prince Andrew, you talk about who's after Epstein. Prince Andrew is on a higher level than Epstein.
Yeah, of course.
He's on a higher level than Epstein.
He's royalty.
Yeah.
He's royalty.
Yeah.
And he would never see a day in prison. He would never see
no,
one
that
day in
motherfucker
prison.
ain't getting touched.
Nope.
Yeah. Nah, he ain't getting touched. But Prince Andrew. I haven't done too much research on Prince Andrew. I know he was friends with Epstein. I didn't know he was like that close. I know he spent he spent time with him at his home, dinner, holidays, etc. But so did a whole lot of other people, you know. So
sorry, Jake.
Obviously.
Quickly, let me just add this part too. Epstein was also in the royal household in this country. There's footage of Epstein at royal households over here amongst the royal family.
Wow. Yeah. There you go. And not only that, Epstein was also during the Clinton administration. He was at the Clinton White House like 20 times. He visited the White House on multiple occasions, bro. So obviously this man had connections with very, very powerful people while he was providing pedophilia to these guys. You know,
Yep.
like it is. The rabbit hole goes fucking deep, man. It's crazy.
What's that? What's
But
that
yeah,
saying?
Prince Andrew.
Feathers of the same,
What was that?
birds of the same flock together, something like that. What's that saying?
Yeah, birds of a feather flock together. That's the saying. Birds of a
Yeah,
feather flock together.
it's not a coincidence. It's not. It really
Yeah.
isn't. It's not a coincidence that
Mhm.
all of these people are associated with each other. It is not a coincidence, and they've all been accused of these evil acts, or these evil crimes at some point. It's not a coincidence because guess what? When I mentioned the 134 Hampstead, it's the same story. It's like what I'm noticing is that it's the same story being told over and over and over and over again. That's it. It's just the same story
Yeah.
being told over and over again. So to me, I don't okay, going back to these court files, the names, because everyone's going crazy about the names. I don't know why the
Yeah.
names are
Yeah.
so important. Because the thing is, what I think we've managed to establish is they decide who gets exposed and who doesn't. That's what they do. They decide who gets exposed because Prince Andrew has been Prince Andrew will never go to jail. Yeah, and everyone knows
But
that
he's been exposed though. That's the thing.
Mm.
yeah, he's been
Prince
exposed.
Andrew has already been exposed. He's been
But that,
exposed, but he's not going to pay for his
yeah,
crimes.
but what I'm saying, but
And
that to me, that's the definition of power. To me, that's the definition of power that you
yeah,
can expose me and I still don't go jail and I still get to do whatever I want to do. So to me, that is the definition of power. So the powers that be really are in charge of all of everything. Whether Epstein lives or dies,
sure.
whether Prince Andrew gets exposed or and stays out of jail, regardless of how much evidence there is against him, it really makes no
Yeah.
difference. They decide what happens and what doesn't happen.
So
So
Octavio, I'll
yeah,
tell you this. This is called the Solution Podcast, right?
yes,
Okay, so I'm going to give you a solution, my friend. If you're saying the powers that be, right? That's what you're going to describe them as. You can call them the Matrix, NWO, the media, whatever, however you want to describe them as. The powers that be is the few. Yes, they're the elites, but they're the few. If there's a reason why they want to keep control of the people's minds, because when the people wake up and they're aware that they're being controlled by a few tiny bit of individuals, that's when they can take back power, bro. These individuals, the big reason why they you know, when you say, oh, well, there's no point of exposing these names. No, there's a huge point of exposing these names because the more names you expose, the more people you'll wake up. The more people that are like, for example, I did a video on this like months ago with the whole Epstein thing, the flight logs that were leaked. I covered all that shit, and every single person on that list were people in Hollywood that were like left wing pushing propaganda. You had Tom Hanks was on there. What's the other guy from Meet the Parents? Forgot his name. He's a Trump hater. You had a bunch of people that were like advocators for hating Donald Trump. And I know you guys, you know, Hassan specifically, there's a reason why they hate Donald Trump too, because Donald Trump was also one of the guys that pulled back a lot of this curtain to help wake up at least half of the United States and honestly half of the West too, that actually admire Donald Trump for doing that. He talked about the swamp. He talked about nobody knew what the fuck the deep state was until Donald Trump came in office and started saying it out loud. So yeah, there's the reasons why the power at B don't like that guy. There's a reason why the power at B doesn't want the people to wake up, because when they do, and when you keep exposing these names, Octavio, that's when it's going to get harder and harder for them to control the public. So that's why I think that it's very important for these names to be exposed.
Jake, let me just there's two types of control. But the main way of controlling that these look, if you look up throughout history, it's always been a very small minority at the top. It's like a pyramid. It's always been the minority at the top and the majority at the bottom. That has never changed and that will never change. And the reason is because a lot of people don't understand what how they control, what the mechanism is for controlling people. People only think of it on surface level. They think you know, for example, I'll give you a perfect example. We've been talking about it all this time. Andrew, Prince Andrew,
Mm.
he can do all of
Mhm.
these things, and no one, people might act as if they are outraged, but no one will really do anything about it. Why? The reason is the real way of controlling people is by spiritually controlling them. All right. And this is when we are talking about society reflecting the occult or the beliefs of the occult. This is called spiritually engineering. What it is they spiritually engineer people to not be able to rise up, to not be able to realize the truth, to not be able to even be motivated enough to do anything about anything. Look, we've had, for example, what if I told you that abortion is
Healthcare.
is an occult practice that is about
Oh,
human sacrifice, and what they are doing is they are psychologically preparing you to one day accept real human sacrifices. Okay, so they are
mhm.
psychologically engineering you to accept that eventually in the future. This is called spiritually engineering.
Mhm.
This is how the top is able to control the people at the bottom for spiritually engineering them to look to for example, have you ever heard of the phrase of the saying, they're gonna call bad good and good bad?
Yeah, yeah. That didn't they state
You
that
heard-
in Revolution?
heard of that?
Is this a Christian conspiracy theory?
No, it's not. The reason why people these days call the reason why people these days call good bad and bad good is because they have been spiritually engineered to do that. That's the reason why
Yeah,
that's the reason why that happens. So, and this is the reason why
true.
society, regardless of how many of these scandals are exposed come out, regardless of how many, society will continue to get worse, will continue to get more degenerate, will continue to get more depraved, regardless, because spiritually they are not strong enough to rise up against anything. That's how the
Mhm.
powerful control the minority controls the
Sure.
majority.
I
What
see
they're
But
doing
one.
also,
I see
Nelson,
one
but
they
thing. If you don't,
Octavio,
go ahead.
no, no, I was just gonna just quick argument here. Octavio, when you look at it, because you're kind of looking at it from like a pessimistic point of view here, it's like, okay, there's no point ever into they're always gonna get away with it. There's no point to it. Why bother, etc. But it's like we're having these conversations. You have a YouTube channel directly just to have conversations to help people become aware of things. Like this whole channel is based about that. So I would say, well, who cares about this channel then? Why are we even talking about all of this in the first place? Let them keep continuing being pedophiles. Let them continue to have murderers. Let Biden keep being president. Let's all just go to hell in a handbasket, accept it, and let's just move on with our lives. That's it. Is that your solution right here?
Before John Michael, before you go, yeah. Just to quickly answer that, I'm not saying do nothing. I'm not saying that. I'm saying um expose it expose it for what it really is. Don't because the most people, when they expose these things, they only expose it at the surface. But until someone recognizes, for example, look, until someone recognizes that abortion is evil, right? You are too spiritually dead to battle whatever it is that they present to you. Okay, you are too spiritually blind for you to be able to even battle whatever they present to you. A lot of people are indifferent about abortion, for example. This is the biggest holocaust right now going on in the west, right, in the world right now. No one bats an eyelid. That just tells you how spiritually blind people actually are. It doesn't actually cause them to revolt. It doesn't actually cause them, but you get one little scandal, one person gets killed, all of a sudden it's big news. It's big news, and
Yeah,
people have
yeah.
strong opinions about that. This is how spiritually blinded we are. Because all I was telling you was how they managed to control the majority. Sorry, John. Go ahead, bro.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think what Jake saying, I agree with. My thing is this: what they're trying to do is they're trying to control and manipulate society using chaos, a form of chaos, and that chaos involves having you jumping from one idea to the next, or from one feeling to the next. So, for example, we're supposed to be upset about Epstein being a paedophile, yet you show open pedophilia on TV shows and Netflix, and and we're supposed to be okay with that. Okay, we're supposed to be okay with Epstein. We're supposed to be disgusted with Epstein, but you're okay with grown men going into children's bathrooms. So this is the mental games that they're playing in society, where they're
That's a good point.
dividing people. Where they're dividing people. Where if you're a sane person, all of that's wrong. That's all wrong, and that's why I don't even buy into the leftist right wing thing, because I think at a higher level, there's right wing people that push pedophilia, and there's left wing people that put pedophilia. They just do it in different ways. It's done in different ways. But when you start to clear up your mind and realize, hold on a minute, when I start flying into this leftist philosophy, I'm aligning myself with certain things. But when I'm also signing up to right wing ideology, I'm also aligning myself with stuff that is potentially good for society too. And that's why, me personally, I don't align with left, I don't align with right. I won't give my allegiance to someone like Trump. I would never give my allegiance to someone like Biden. To me, they're all playing the same, different parts of the same game. That's how I see it. And that's done to divide and conquer people and to create, as I said, they rule through confusion. Because the old saying is order out of confusion.
Yeah.
They want you to be upset with Biden.
Yeah,
They want
yeah.
you to be upset with Trump, because then you're part of a, now you're on one team now fighting. Then you've got an enemy now. When really, as human beings, we should really understand that there's a us and them, and that's it. There's us and them. That's what it is.
I would actually
Mhm.
say, I would actually go as far as saying there is no us and them, because a lot of us are actually becoming them. You
Oh
see,
yeah.
because the thing is, the key, the purpose, real power lies in converting everyone into your belief system. That's where you get the real power. That's where real power really lies. If I can get everyone to think like me, behave like me, act like me, that's when I know I've won. Okay, because guess what? They're not going to disagree with anything I do. All right. Now I will not have an opposition if I can convert everyone to think in the exact same way. All right. And that's all it is. When you look at feminism, when you look at all of these different ideologies, and they're all religions calling you to believe in what they want you to believe. Conservatives, um, leftists, that's all religions. They're all religions. At the even when you go to the individual, to the actual individual human being, he himself wants another person to believe in what they believe in. Okay, like you take someone like me, I walk up to you, I want to preach to you about what? Christianity. That, what does that mean? That means I want you to believe in what I believe in, right? You go to someone else, he believes in something completely entirely different. Guess what? He wants me to believe in what he believes in. He believes in Egyptians. The other person believes in whatever. It doesn't matter. So the powers that be, what they're trying to do is convert the world to basically to convert the world into their religion, into their way of thinking. All right, because that's where true power lies. That's where the real power lies. If I can get everyone to think like me, that's it. I've got control over everyone, over everything. Controlling human minds is where the real power is.
I have one objection
Yeah,
with the theory that
I-
you made, that there's a, sorry if I could just throw this in before I forget.
no. Go,
The
Hassan. Go,
the
Hassan.
I appreciate you mentioned that power is a like a pyramid structure. It's from the top down. And why would the elite allow something like this to make themselves so exposed? I think the issue with that is it's not one pyramid, and it's not one power structure. I was just reading an email from that was exposed on Twitter by Rowan Favreau. He's a journalist. He's the son of Mia Favreau, who's an actress or whatever. And the email exchange is MIT covering up the fact that Bill Gates was funding some projects at MIT, and that Epstein was their broker for the deal. And it was them intentionally covering up the fact that Epstein was still involved. This is obviously after he was a convicted sex offender. That's not a wild conspiracy theory. That's not somebody trying to bring about an agenda. That's just educators trying to get funding for their research. In some cases, we have to.
What was the research for, Hassan? What was the research for? Do you remember?
I don't remember.
Okay, that's very key, though. That's very key part of the story as well. What the research was for.
I'll double check on that, because it was said in the email. But a part of me, I think it was cellular research or something. But it probably goes back to your.
Did I say that earlier on? That's what Epstein was into. He was into this cellular research stuff.
Something like it was something. I briefly scanned it, but I worry that when we see such things, that we may be building an enemy in our mind that is promoting something that we consider to be vile, that we consider to be opposed to our way of thinking, our morality, when it could be just people with power and influence just covering up for each other for the purposes of power and influence, whether it be through funding, whether it be through facilitating a variety of connections, whether it be, because right now you have senators in power. I think that I forget the name of the senator. I can find it. Who was said to be or exposed to having an affair with a 17-year-old girl, or his text messages were exposing the fact that he was trying to get a 17-year-old girl to sleep with him or whatever, or something along those lines. I have to go through the details. I think you might know him, Jake, because he's a
Democrat. He's a Democrat guy.
Yeah,
I
probably
his name.
No, he's definitely 100%.
Sounds familiar.
I can even get you his name. He's quite a young guy. And he's you see him in a few pictures arguing with AOC. But the point I'm making is it's I can accept the idea it's engineered, but I can't accept the idea that the powers that be have such influence and such power. It could be just rich people being rich, powerful people being powerful, just doing what they want to do. Because the average are we threatened by the fact that they have such influence and they're pedophiles? Because there's a lot of pedophiles in the world.
No, I'm not.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Hassan. I'm not talking about having influence. Anyone can have influence. I'm not talking about having influence. I'm talking about the influence that's directed towards a certain purpose, towards a certain agenda. Okay. So and usually when you see anyone, you can have influence. You can express your opinion. You can do all of those type of things, and it could be perfectly innocent. But when you see laws being passed, when you see it affecting people's lives, when you see it all, when you connect all the dots and you see that it's all geared towards the same thing, when you see social changes happening at such a high speed, so quickly in a short period of time, and they all agree with each other, that's something that's completely different. That's completely different. I'm not talking about just generally having influence because you're rich, because you've got money, because you can, because people will listen to you and you just have an innocent opinion. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about laws being passed. I'm talking about lives being affected. That's what I'm talking about. For example, LGBTQ is being taught in schools to little children. That is not just some rich guy having influence and he thinks blah blah blah. That's an agenda. They want the next generation to think in a certain type of way.
Remember, though,
I don't think Hassan.
Well, go ahead, Jake. Go ahead. You go ahead. Go ahead.
No. I was just gonna say I don't think Hassan is sitting there saying like because you have money, therefore people are gonna listen to you. Obviously, there's rich people out here that nobody gives a fuck about what they have to say. But when you have money, you could buy influence. What does that mean? You can literally purchase people, fund people. Look, politicians that push political agendas, they're bought out by rich people that don't necessarily have influence with their own voice, but they buy out politicians so they get influence through policies, right? That's one way of doing it. Even people that do movies, like that's another way of swaying public opinion. So I mean, I think what Hassan's saying is more of like when you have the power of influence, then you can control people on that spiritual level as well, Octavio, because people will go away from God if they watched a movie of their favorite character smoking a cigarette or drinking beer or cursing God, and they'll think of that character, that fictional character, as cool, and they'll end up imitating that, especially young, impressionable men, especially children. This is why they push it. So you have to influence the youth in order, because when the old is already dead, when we're dead, we're gonna have our younger children take over for us. If they're being influenced by the teachers of LGBTQ acceptance, all that other garbage, they're going to be more acceptable to brainwashing by the global elites, and thus getting more and more powerful as time goes on. So yeah, it's not necessarily about having money, but put your money in the right places and you can get influence.
Yeah, go ahead, Joe Michael.
Yeah.
And first of all, they're openly saying they're coming for children. I'm not going to mess up Octavio's channel by saying who and how, but we've seen people from certain backgrounds openly singing, "We are coming for your children." So that's not even a conspiracy anymore.
Yeah.
But let me say this as well.
Videos. That was literally on video.
Right? Yeah, I saw that. But what I'm going to say is, when it comes to the influence thing, when these people have a certain amount of money, and this goes back to what we spoke about with Disney, Octavio, before. Why is Disney allowing film after film to tank and they don't care? When you have a certain amount of money, all you want now is influence, because you've done this money thing. When you've done the money thing and you reach a certain level, your only purpose in life now is influencing other people, because you start to develop what they call like a God complex, because you're so above the Lord, you're so powerful, and you're so, in your mind, you're so powerful and above everyone else that you think, okay, now I've got this position, I need to start trying to influence others. This is what comes with that kind of level of money, that you start to think, okay, I've got this power, because money is power. How can I influence others? And that's why you see people like Disney putting out material that is obviously done to promote agendas. And at the moment, people around our age are not buying it. We were the people like us were the people that were behind the original Marvel. We made Marvel what it is today. Started with Blade and all that. We started that. We started that whole, it's cool to be into superheroes. Guys around our age, okay? They've lost us. They've lost us, but they're like, we don't want you. We're not, it's not about you guys anymore. We want the children. But at the moment, we have kids and we're not taking our kids to see it. So they're losing money.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword.
We could, but let's say we could ride this out, because your kids will go to the cinema soon on their own. They won't need you anymore to take them. When they get 16, they won't need you guys anymore. So we'll keep pushing it out. We'll keep pushing it out until our kids say, Dad, I don't need you to take me anymore. I'm going to go on my own. And that's when you're going to see these people play the long game. They don't play the short game. They play the long game.
That's why I say it's a generation's game. They're not interested in our generation that thinks in the way we think. We are becoming a minority in every single generation that comes. Every single generation that comes, we become a minority. We become more of a minority. They become more of a majority, until, guess what? They start. Everyone converts into what? Their religion, their way of thinking, their belief system. Do as thy will. Whatever you feel is right is right. Morality becomes subjective. It becomes about how you feel, not what is objective, not what is reality, or as you guys know, truth is that which closest the truth is that which closest corresponds to reality. These days, that's not what the truth is. It's how I feel. So if I feel like a woman, even though I'm a man, guess what? I am a woman. This is what's being pushed. So the people that believe in objective reality, objective truth, people like me, we are going to become a minority. they are going to become the majority eventually. Because why? Because they are interested in the children. They are not interested in the adults to such an extent where pedophilia will be legalized. It will get to that level. Pedophilia will eventually be legalized. Why?
The
Because
last taboo. That's the last taboo.
and if people really want to know, like people want to know something about how that, not how it's going to come about, but how long this has been in the works for. It's been in the works for since um go look up someone called Alfred Kinsey. All right, go look him up. Alfred Kinsey. Go look him up back in the
A
1950s.
sex,
Yeah,
a sexologist, right? American
yeah,
sexologist.
yeah.
Like he's the one that pushed all the, he did experiments or something, right?
Nambla,
On
Nambla,
kids.
Nambla,
Yeah,
Nambla,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, that one there.
Nambla. Yeah.
He hired pedophiles to experiment on children as young as 2. Okay, and in order to
Yeah.
find out whether children are sexual or not sexual. Okay, so when you see the sexualization of children, this is not happening in the this hasn't happened in a vacuum. This it came from somewhere. Okay, Kinsey wrote extensively about that. He published the results. This book is still in print. You can still go and buy
Yeah.
the actual book and see the published results of children, of little babies being experimented on by a pedophile, because he wanted to see whether or not they climax or don't climax. Okay, so it's been going on for a long
Yeah.
time. That's why I say it's a generations game. All right, and
Yeah.
that's what's going to happen. And this relates to what we are talking about, because everything that Jeffrey Epstein was involved in, with all the people that he was involved in, these people all come from the same ideology, which is the occult, feminism, secular humanism. They're all the same ideology, by the way. Liberalism, they're all the same. They're all one thing. They all believe in the same things. If you actually look at their manifestos, they all believe in the same thing. They all agree, and society is reflecting that belief more and more and more and more and more. And that's how they acquire power. So after my generation,
Mhm.
the next generation will be weaker, more susceptible to their belief system.
Yeah.
I'm yet to be convinced
Yeah.
by this conspiracy theory, to be honest with you.
Why?
How is this a conspiracy
Can
theory,
I ask
Hassan?
a question? Do you
Open
think
your
Marx,
eyes and look around the world.
Also, Hassan, do you think that Marxism and communism have not been used in society to control people in the past?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure they have.
So these
Probably more than
ideologies are real and they still exist,
yeah, of course, yeah. I've spoken to a few
right? And
communists,
that's basically what we're talking about here. All the stuff we're talking about actually falls under Marxist communist ideology.
But if we could
They're
define all
reduced to
these,
taking the secular societies, reducing people to homogeneous groups. These are Marxist communist philosophies that are being implemented on the West right now, and they've really been. It exists right now. If you go to North Korea, you will see it.
yeah, communism
So
in its purest form, yeah.
right. So this is what they're trying to introduce to the West. They're introducing it, and a lot of the stuff we're talking about in terms of this whole gender fluidity and this homogeneous society they want to create is part of, and more importantly, the secularism that's involved in it. This comes from Marxist. Literally said he wanted to dethrone God. This is what he said. Marxist said, "My job is to dethrone God." Marxist was writing about the Satan and demons.
Mm.
This is literally where it comes from.
I can accept the idea that these ideas may be sourced from here, or whether it be communism or feminism or secularism or atheism, whatever it may be. But if we to accept the argument that they're all different forms of religion, and that we have our own forms of religion, would be Christianity, Islam, Judaism, whatever, they're all just competing for the hearts and minds of the masses. Some win in some circles, some win in others, but no one particular one will succeed over the other, because once these ideas are promoted into the society of my body, my choice, you have a pushback to a certain extent of trad, cons or whatever it may be, people in their youth, in their 20s and their 30s, saying back in the day, this wasn't the case. When back in the day was when they weren't even alive. That mind virus it may be a mind virus to us, and we may be so disgusted and despise it so much, and it's so evident to us. But it's maybe the shadow that we fear rather than the item itself, rather than the subject itself. I don't think that it's kind of.
What they're doing though, they're infiltrating. See the stuff you're talking about in terms of the different religions out there. They're infiltrating them. That's why we had the story recently about the Catholic Church and what they're doing in terms of having same-sex unions being. Okay, so this would never have happened 20 years ago.
But look,
20 years ago, that wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
You know what wouldn't have happened?
They infiltrate society for every tenant, for every lifestyle experience that we're having. It's being infiltrated by these philosophy, by this one philosophy which I put into this, which is basically a Luciferian ideology. That's what it is.
I agree with
it comes under Marxism, but the root of it, the top of the pyramid, is what you call the Luciferian ideology.
Satanic.
And that's basically, and that's what's being infiltrated into society.
I disagree. Again, I like the pyramid.
Okay.
I like the pyramid scenario, but all I'm arguing is more than one pyramid. I accept the idea that there is this push, this agenda for it, because I can't even cross the road in London without walking across the rainbow. Because in London, you have a lot of the crosswalkings in central London that are just rainbow flags and transgender flags and a variety of flags. So you can't even cross the road without having this agenda literally by your feet, right? And I'm sure you've seen it in central London when you're crossing the road. You see the pride flag on the floor instead of a zebra crossing.
And the traffic lights as well.
And the traffic. Yes, that's right. I remember seeing that. It was 2 men holding hands, green light. 2 women holding hands, red light. It's no joke. It's there. But never in a world 20 years ago you wouldn't have seen queers for Palestine. Queers for Palestine. LGBTQ for Palestine. You see these.
There you go. That's exactly my point.
That's so moronic and so chaotic and sloppy and inconsistent, incoherent, because this is a. But what this
is my point. This is what they're pushing.
But
it's infiltration. That's infiltration right there.
I think yes, true, but it just doesn't work. It's just you can project as much as you can. You can promote the idea as wide and as far as it. Of course, more people that hear it, more people like to accept it. But my argument is it can only go so far. It will go.
I agree with you, Rashid. Hassan, sorry, I agree with you. I think that at some point they're gonna have to they're gonna have to go to more extreme methods. Maybe that means culling. Maybe that means some type of mass culling of the population. Because I've always said, and I've said to Nelson, I said, some of these Muslims out here, they're not accepting any of this. They will never accept it. I can see Christians more likely accepting it.
That's not true.
Okay, well then you corrected me there, right?
This
is what I said. My thought. Let me just explain my thought process. Was this.
Please do. Yeah.
I thought that they are going to infiltrate society to the point where the only group. The team is laughing. The only group that's going to challenge them are the hardcore Muslims.
I'll tell you why you're wrong.
Thought that.
You can go to
you. Tell me why I'm wrong. Tell me why I'm wrong.
The Muslims in the UK won't accept it. Muslims in Europe won't accept it. Muslims in Africa and Asia won't accept it. Muslims in America, that you will find. You can go to YouTube, type in LGBTQ Muslims. You can see young Lebanese Muslims, young Yemeni Muslim girls saying, "I'm a lesbian and I don't know why I'm." And these aren't radicals. These aren't crazy weirdos. These are just normal young girls who just happen to be openly homosexual, right? The reason it's accepted in America, because in America, to a certain extent, you're either white or you're not. And the Muslims are not white by any definition. Obviously, because of 9/11, they haven't had that ability to assimilate into white society because of 9/11 and a variety of issues. So they're pushed towards the liberal side, what you would call liberal leftist side. They're the ones that accept Muslims, but they give them that little wink, wink. If you don't accept LGBTQ, we don't accept you. And then they're starting to buckle to that. You see Muslims dancing in gay pride flags. You see Muslims argue, well, why do you care? These are young men, these are Gen Z Muslims with their beards. Oh, what's wrong with being gay? And why is it your business? Oh, just blah, blah, blah. And you see older Muslims supporting gay marriage, not because they're homosexuals, because they support the American idea of the state shouldn't be involved in gay marriage and the smaller state. that the state shouldn't define what marriage is, and so on and so forth. But in the UK, you're either English or you're not, in my experience, right?
Hold
So
on.
you have.
Hold on.
Let me finish my rant.
Sorry. Yeah, go ahead. No. I just wanted to give a shout out to Rashid. Rashid, we're talking about Jeffrey Epstein court files released. We've covered that, and now we're talking about the consequences of people that Jeffrey Epstein was involved with, the consequences of what their beliefs are, consequences of their beliefs in society, and how it affects society in a negative way. And you know what's going to happen basically in the future. Go ahead, Hassan.
Yeah, in the UK, the integration system is slightly different. Correct me if I'm wrong, but in the UK, you're either English or not. You're not. You know, it's still a European nation. It's not a nation which has a long history of everybody can be British. You know, white and British and black and British. No, it's really just English people. And you can you can still keep your cultural identity to a certain extent. You can be Pakistani British. You can be Iranian British. You can be Nigerian British, Jamaican British, right? You see people who've born here, raised here, but still identify as Jamaican as a caveat, as a suffix to their British identity, right? Mm. So that's people still holding on to their Muslim tradition because there is no way of integrating into Englishness, right? Because you step out of London, you go to a rural city, straight away they'll remind you not English, right? Mm. But as a Muslim person, as a brown person, you are quickly reminded from what you see in the media, and I don't live in America, but you're not white American, right? And there is no real way of assimilating into. But you can be a liberal American, you can be an American Muslim, but again, you'll most likely identify with the democratic side of things, and that's why they you again check it yourself, type in Muslim, American, gay, you'll find young Muslims supporting LGBTQ.
But they're not the one with the guns.
Hassan really got passionate.
They're not
the
one with the guns. They're not the ones with the guns. They're not the ones with the guns. I mean the militant Muslims. They're not going to accept this.
Which militant Muslims? Where are the militant?
I'm talking about the Iranians, basically.
Iran.
Iranians. I know a lot of the country, a lot of that world is destroyed.
In Iran, if
go
you're
ahead.
gay, this is really important to what you're about to say next. Okay. I'm not interrupting you for the sake of interrupting. Sorry.
No, that's fine.
But in Iran, if you're gay, you'll be hanged. It's if you're found to be a homosexual, you're hanged. But if you say I'm transgender and I want to cut off my penis, it's fine.
What?
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. You're saying over there, if you're a guy that went through surgery and chopped off his ding dong, they won't kill you?
You can get married. It's fine. To another man.
You can get married to a man if you're a transgender over there?
Yes.
Okay, well, I've been educated today.
I've never heard that ever. I've never heard that before.
Please,
hold on.
I gotta Google you, bro. Like what?
Yeah, please.
Hold on, guys. You have to understand. You have to understand. There's always going to be a minority that are hardcore in every religion that will not change. Will stick to their beliefs and all of that. That will always exist. But what's happening is we have is secularism. The world is being secularized because only in a secular country can ideologies or secular ideologies like feminism, secular humanism, liberalism flourish. Only in secular countries. This is why you have nightclubs now in Saudi Arabia. Okay, this is why Dubai looks like any city you'll find you'll find in the West. They're promoting practically the same thing. The name of the game is called secularization. The world is being secularized. All right. If you look at Israel, they promote LGBTQ. Now, why is that? Because Israel is not a Jewish country. It is a secular country. And within the secular country, these ideologies will flourish. This is a global agenda. This is a global agenda which eventually will become the norm. It's a satanic agenda, and the powers that be are very much involved in it. It doesn't matter whether it is the Saudi Arabia elites They're also involved in this satanic agenda. The Catholics are experiencing a very difficult time right now because the Pope decided to create a blessing. Even
Yeah.
though the document contradicts itself, it says that there is no
Octavio,
blessing
do you
in the
believe,
union.
Octavio,
Yeah, sorry, Jake. Let me just
Octavio,
finish.
do you believe that the Pope allowing people to bless gay couples, is that going to lead into eventually the Pope allowing them to go ahead and marry gay couples?
That's the
And
whole
now we're going to
podcast
be
on its own.
inclusive. And yeah, and that's what I'm saying, Octavio. Like, do you
Let me
think
say this.
that is going to be a part of the future of Catholicism?
No, no. He hasn't. What he's done is he's created a special blessing, a blessing.
It's a trickling effect, my
Hold on.
friend.
No,
It's
no,
going to
hold
be a
on.
trickling effect.
Wait.
I'm with you, Jake, on this.
Let me
I'm
finish.
with you,
Let me
Jake.
finish.
It's
Let
going to
me
be a trickling effect. You're saying no because you want to believe that.
Let me
Yes.
finish my thought. It will make sense. It will make sense. It will make sense once I explain it.
Make it
What
make
is
sense, please.
what
I've
is
got pen and paper.
okay?
Mm.
Can I finish, please? What is done is it's created a special blessing. All right, a special blessing which goes against Catholic teaching. You have to understand one thing: we have something called Catholic teaching. Anything that goes against that, okay, it's problematic. This is how we are able to identify anything that threatens the faith. All right, it's not like the Protestants. It's basically anything that the pastor says, goes. We actually have I forgot what the name the correct name is. So we actually have a Catholic teaching. So he created a special blessing, all right, a new blessing, which is what the older bishops have a problem with. That's why all the bishops have denied this, and they are openly saying they are willing to disobey the orders of the Pope in this situation because the blessing goes against the Catholic teaching. All right, this blessing, even though it says it's not a blessing to bless unions, okay, even though the document says the blessing is not to bless unions, the problem is the word couples. All right, the word couples implies a union, and that is the issue. That's where the deception lies, and this is what they have a problem with. Now look at what's happening. They have a problem with one word, couple. It's causing this amount of problems. The Pope has already come out and I think his name is Cardinal Fernandez. He has already come out and specified and said, listen, we are not blessing same-sex unions. We are not doing that. But because the rest of the clergy, the bishops and so on, have a problem with the word couple, yeah, because it goes against the teaching of the church. That's the reason why there's this turmoil. So it will never. If you think if this can cause this amount of problem, if you think suggesting gay marriage will go anywhere, no, that will cause a schism within the Catholic Church. It will literally break. It will literally break apart. It will cause a schism within the Catholic Church. The word couple they have this much of an issue over this word couple, even though they've been told that we are not blessing the actual union itself. Okay, that's
Okay, Nelson. I say this, Nelson. We
Yeah,
have
like
to look at timelines. You got to look at timelines here.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at, that's why I agree with Jake when you talk about the trickling effect. Let's look at timelines. There was a time where this would not have even been, however you're explaining it.
nobody would have thought of
This
that.
would not have been a discussion in the Catholic Church 50 years ago, 100 years ago.
10
It would
years.
not have been 10 years ago. So there's obviously some type of trickling effect. And then we have to start looking in the future. Okay, so if it wasn't like this 100 years ago, what could it look like in 100 years from now? What would they be talking about? What would be accepted now? And going from what Hassan said with what's happening with the Muslims, which I wasn't aware of, it seems like there's a trickling effect there too. Because
I'd like to comment on that.
I know, from my understanding, I know at some point, there's no way at some point the stuff that Hassan's been speaking about with regards to transgender stuff in Iran and people going online being openly gay, guys with beards and all that, you would have seen. I don't believe you would have seen that 50 years ago. So there's a trickling effect going on within Islam too. So we got to predict now what's going to happen in 50 and 100 years from now. And this is why I say there is one agenda, I believe, that's infiltrated all of the main religions or philosophies that exist on the earth. There's one agenda coming down, and it's infiltrated all of them. Okay? And once you understand that, they would understand that what is that root agenda coming in? What's the root agenda? When we understand what that root agenda is in, then you could predict how the earth is going to look like in 50, 100 years from now.
No, just hold on. Let me just touch on this, right? 100 years from now, we can predict what's going to happen in the Catholic Church, because this Pope will not be alive by then. A new Pope would be selected, and this ruling that the Pope has allowed, it's not an infallible ruling from the Pope, meaning it can be changed, which means after the Pope passes away, a new Pope will be selected, and things will restore back to normality. Before any schism takes place in the Catholic Church, we will see what will happen with the next Pope. And you're absolutely right. I never thought I would see the day where this would have been infiltrated in the Catholic Church, or this agenda would even be proposed in the Catholic Church. But it has happened. It has happened. But then again, Christianity does not tell us that things are going to get better. It tells us that things are going to get worse. So we are not sitting here also expecting things to always be, perfect and so on and so forth. But within the Catholic Church, one thing that can happen in the Catholic Church, because of its hierarchy of the way it's set up, it can restructure itself back to what it was once this Pope passes away. So the next Pope that comes to power next, he can turn around and say, what that Pope said was absolute rubbish. We do not believe.
It will be too late by then, Nelson. It will be too late by then, because once you've already established a culture within anything, once you've established the culture that some things are permissible, if a person that comes back and tries to reform, which is what you're talking about, the Catholic Church reforming, there's going to be a massive backlash against that individual, and he is not going to be able to stand up to that level of. He may have his own views, but once that culture has set in, and that culture has to incorporate leadership too, he won't be the Pope. Basically, they won't have him as the Pope.
Yeah, no,
he would have to follow the culture.
They're already calling for this to stand down. They're already calling this Pope, just like what you're saying is literally happening right now. They are calling for the Pope to stand down, because what you're talking about is 2,000 years of Catholic teaching being reversed now. So this drawback that you're talking about, and remember, the Pope is not going to live forever. He's not going to live for 100 years. He's probably going to live for 30 years. It's not going to be enough to undo 2,000 years of Catholic teaching, 2,000 years of Catholic history. And the very same backlash that you're talking about now is what the Pope is currently facing right now from every bishop from Africa all the way up to the Americas, including Europe. They have literally stood up and they said, no, this cannot be allowed. So, I mean, bro, I have hope. I'm hoping, but at the same time, I don't like it. I agree with you 100%. Yeah, go ahead, Jake.
Okay. Yeah, Octavio. So, especially JM, he did a great job of talking about the trickling effect. But I would also note, I believe the Catholic Church has already kind of been infiltrated already by pedophilia. Since we're on the subject of Epstein, there's already been over 1,000 cases of priests touching little boys through the history of the Vatican, with their priests, etc. So scandals isn't anything new with the Catholic Church. And now they're coming in and saying that they're going to give a special blessing to these homosexuals that want to get married. I mean, I understand what you say, where you say, I hope this doesn't, I hope it's not an ongoing thing. But when we see like pedophilia in the Catholic Church, it has been an ongoing thing throughout the years. And there's been cases on that. Well, like I think it's well over 1,000 throughout the history there. So
Okay.
if you're, I'm not saying that it's going to happen in our lifetime, but I am going to say, like, let's not be surprised if it penetrates enough to where the Catholic Church is going to get influence enough to allow gays to get married. It's just the starter effect. That's what I truly believe. But I hope it doesn't happen. I hope it doesn't, just like you. But I wouldn't be surprised. It's trickling effect.
I hope it doesn't happen to. Just to answer the pedophile statement that you made there. Pedophilia is found everywhere. It's found. It's found in. It's found
every
in
Catholic person gives the same argument there. Pedophilia is found everywhere. We're talking about the Catholic Church here, though.
Hold on.
Not talking about everywhere. Talking about the Catholic. It shouldn't be there. It shouldn't be there. It's found everywhere.
Pedophilia shouldn't be in every organization. It shouldn't be found in every religion. It shouldn't be found anywhere. For that argument to be valid, one would have to look at what the Catholic Church teaches, not the actions of a couple of bad priests. Now, if you're going to call
that's not my argument, though.
If you're going to call an entire institution because a minority of priests decided to do something evil, then we can call every single organization.
That's a lot of cases, though.
Hold on.
That's a lot of evil.
No, it's not. The same case, you'll find the same cases of pedophilia everywhere else. The problem is, the reason why you always, whenever you think of a Catholic priest, you think of a pedo, is because the mainstream media has an agenda to bring down the Catholic Church. What it is you've been brainwashed by the mainstream media to make you believe that that this is rampant in the Catholic Church and every priest is a pedo. Why? Because you've watched movies about. You've seen. Hold on. You've seen every movie. Hold on. Every movie. Every single joke, every comedian, whenever they mention the Catholic Church, they always try to associate them with pedophilia. That's why you think the way you do, because you're being brainwashed by mainstream media. And why? Because look at what happened after the Pope said same couples can be blessed through this spontaneous blessing, right? Look at what happened. The whole world exploded. No one explodes when pedophilia is found in Protestant churches. No one cares. No one talks about it. Why? Because those churches are irrelevant, those Protestant churches. The main church is the Catholic Church. So guess what they're going to do? They're going to do their best to make people believe that this is rampant. When it's not, when you actually study it, it's a very small minority of priests that have done something as evil as pedophilia. And you can and you can find pedophilia literally everywhere.
Yeah. So, okay, first off, you can't find pedophilia everywhere. Okay. That's kind of, that's stretching it. And I hear a lot of arguments with Catholics that say, well, pedophilia is everywhere. It's not just our church. It's everywhere. Well, hold on there. You guys are literally the biggest influence of Christianity, right? The Catholic Church is the biggest Christian religion in the whole entire world, right? So I'll take into accountability that, of course, because it's the bigger religion, you're going to have a little bit more cases on that. I agree with that. Okay. You created a straw man. I never said anything about the media convincing me that it's rampant in the Catholic Church. My argument is the trickling effect. We've already seen the Catholic Church get penetrated by evil that has launched itself into cases that were quite a bit of cases, Octavio. We have to mention that, okay? So if you're going to call a spade, just talk about that, because we've already seen this before in pedophilia. Now they're talking about blessing marriages. That could be a trickling effect too. I'm saying, yes, I hope it doesn't happen. Yes, it's a church that's very strong and united, hopefully anyways. But with these leaders that are trickling up on there, I mean, Octavio, like you said in the Bible, it said it's going to get worse before it gets better. It's going to hit rock bottom. Why wouldn't you be surprised that eventually Christianity will get crucified and killed out before it gets better?
My hope, my only hope, is that the 2,000 years of Christianity will be sufficient to fight off this hiccup that we are currently experiencing with this Pope. And my only hope is that that will take place, because you can't just ignore that we've had 2,000 years of Catholicism. You can't ignore the fact that we have a hierarchy, we have a structure within the Catholic Church, and the Pope one day will pass away. You can't ignore the fact that the papacy right now is facing a backlash from the majority of its bishops that are deliberately telling them that we will not obey, because according to the actual document itself, it's a choice whether you do it or you don't do it. It's actually a choice. It's up to the priest whether he goes ahead and he
We
does
shouldn't have that choice in the first place.
Exactly. I
But,
agree.
no,
I
but
agree.
what it shows, Nelson, is that there's an attack going on.
Yes, absolutely. I agree
There's
with
an attack. So
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
you attack something, you have to go for the head,
Mm.
because the head is what dictates.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
there's definitely an attack. That's why I agree. There's an attack
Yeah.
going on the Catholic Church.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
100%.
And it won't stop. The attack won't stop with this Pope, is what I'm saying. It's not. If they don't attack and
Yeah.
then stop. So it will be a sustained attack. And in this level of attack, they're gonna get some successes. They're gonna get some wins.
Yeah, no. I absolutely
Yeah, no.
agree with you. Absolutely agree with you 100%. The Catholic Church is under attack. By a Pope that was not even how do I say this?
But it's higher than him, Nelson. That comes higher than him.
No. But to attack the Catholic Church, you have to go to the Pope. And this is
Right.
what I'm trying to say. So you're absolutely right that the attack is coming from somewhere higher than him. Absolutely. But if you want to attack the Catholic Church, you have to get to the Pope. If you can get to the Pope, then your attack on the Catholic Church will be successful. Okay, it will be successful, but it will not be successful without a fight. And this is what I'm trying to say. To assume that the rest of the Catholic world, 1.5 billion of it, are just going to sit back and have nothing to say is disingenuous. To
I
assume
agree with you there. I agree with that.
to assume that we don't have 2,000 years of history, to assume that we don't have a solid foundation for a teaching that no one can go against, literally it's that protected. This is why this blessing is something outside of the liturgy, something outside of the sacrament, something outside of the blah blah blah. It's just some spontaneous created blessing that he made up, that he came up with. To assume that this is not going to come under attack by the rest of the Catholic people, it's just disingenuous. No, and to assume that this Pope is not going to pass away. You're right. Are they going to continue? Yes. Are these attacks going to continue? Absolutely. Is this the best attack against the Catholic Church? Absolutely, because they actually got to the Pope. They actually got to the Pope, which is crazy to me. All right. But the thing is to assume that there's not going to be some kind of resistance against it. It's I just don't believe that. I don't.
Let me ask you a quick question.
Well, here's the
Nelson.
thing. Nobody's arguing that there's a resistance against it, Octavio. Nobody's arguing that. We're not arguing, JM. Nobody's arguing that there's no resistance. Of course, you're going to fight to make sure this stuff doesn't happen. But if you even look at the churches here in America, they're all being polluted with rainbow flags. I'm sure over there in the UK, I know for a fact over there in France, they have these churches pushing with their flags. They have women pastors, like women preaching the Bible. They have what else? They have gay people within the church in Christianity.
No, gay clergy.
So,
gay
clergy. So it's already a trickling effect already before with the pedophilia stuff. It's jabbing. You jab, and then now you're seeing it with your own fucking eyes. Flags outside of Christian churches. It's absolutely disgusting. So of course there's a resistance against that. You, me, him, everybody here right now is a resistance against the LGB or any type of pedophilia that goes on in any type of religious church. So that for sure, nobody's arguing. But what I'm saying is that, yes, the trickling effect is already scary. You saw it. You even said it got to the Pope. How much longer will it take before it goes to the next Pope? Didn't take that long, Octavio. It really didn't take that long. That's the scary part.
No. It took a very long time before. Listen, this is not the first bad pope we've had in the Catholic Church. There's been other bad popes within the Catholic Church, so this is not the first one. And the Catholic Church
Might be the last.
and the Catholic Church has survived, and it will continue to survive. The churches that you're talking about, interestingly enough, that are supporting rainbow flags, Anglican Church, the Church of England, and all of these evangelical churches. And not all of them have rainbow flags. Not all of them are preaching that. So let's not completely mischaracterize all of these Protestant churches. But within the problem with Protestant churches is that if someone doesn't agree with the pastor of that particular church, he can just go and make his own church. Okay, and so you're going to see this degeneracy within the Protestants more than you will see, for example, within the Orthodox Church, within the Catholic Church, or within the Coptic Church in Ethiopia. Why? Because they have a structure, they have a power that decides, and that they have an authority that decides everything, and everyone goes by that authority. Basically, unless the authority, and they have a teaching, right, a solid teaching that is very difficult for you to change. So that's the reason why these churches have survived as long as they have, and the Protestant churches are literally assimilating into secularism to such an extent that they are absorbing secular values and following it and trying to distort the Christian message. Go ahead.
What it is for me is that when you destroy a leadership of any organization, when you destroy and infiltrate that leadership, and that leadership is no longer credible, especially to the people it's supposed to be leading, then you have a leaderless, a group basically without a leadership structure. They are much more vulnerable to people who are their enemies, basically. And I think this is what we're talking about. It's happening right now. The leadership of the Catholic Church is being infiltrated, okay, from the top. If that continues, and then you guys people like Nelson start to lose faith in the leadership, and that leadership is no longer credible, that leaves Nelson in a weaker position as a Catholic, because there's no hierarchy anymore. You actually become like a rudderless group of people there's no leadership. And that, I believe, is what they want. This is all stages. These people that we're talking about, they work in stages.
Yes.
It's stages. No.
Okay,
so the stages take away the corrupt the leadership. That's what we're seeing now. Corrupt the leadership of the Catholic Church. They're going to corrupt it to the point where people like Nelson are going to move up. They're going to abandon the leadership. That's what's going to happen. At some point, Nelson will abandon the leadership.
Yeah.
And Catholics will abandon, and that makes the Catholics more vulnerable now.
Yeah.
Then if the government say we're making this complete, we're making it. Yeah. There's no churches. Where are you guys going to gather?
Hold on a second, guys. Yeah. Just talk amongst yourselves.
Yeah. Do you see what I mean, Jay? If it comes to the point where they have no there's no church, there's no leader, there's no structure anymore. So that leaves them completely vulnerable. And I think that's what they want. They want people to be completely vulnerable in that sense, where there's no leadership. The whole church, the whole structure of having a church and a clergy. Once that goes, you're left.
Let me just reply to that. The leadership of the Catholic Church, yes, it's reliant on the structure of the papacy. Okay, but the structure of the papacy was set up by Jesus Christ when the authority was given to Peter. Now, did that say that the particular person itself will be a perfect person? No. But there's two types of leadership in the Catholic Church. There's the structure of the papacy, the Pope, and there is the teaching. Okay, the canon law, and this teaching cannot be changed. That's the thing, because it's been there for 2,000 years, and it will not be changed. So you've got two types of leadership there. Okay, any attempts to change the teaching, that's when that will become an issue. This is why this Pope was quickly to keep talking about the blessing not being part of the liturgy, not being part of the sacrament, not being part of any. He called it a spontaneous blessing. All right. And the bishops are like, where does this spontaneous blessing come from? because because he made sure that it doesn't go, doesn't distort the what do you call it, the actual Catholic teaching. So we have two types, okay, two types of leadership. We have the actual canon law, and we've got the papacy. Now, does it say that the Pope will be absolutely perfect? And no, it doesn't. All right. This is why every time a Pope passes away, a new Pope is chosen. Okay. All I can hope for is that they haven't infiltrated it to the point where the next Pope will be like this Pope. That's the thing. That's the only thing I can hope for. That's it. But if you think this resistance will somehow stop, no, it won't stop. It really won't stop. It will continue. This resistance against what's going on, it will not stop. The worst thing that could happen to the Catholic Church is there be a schism, meaning there be some kind of separation. And I think that might, I hope that doesn't happen, but that's the worst thing that could happen to the Catholic Church. But
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. If you're going to take down a religion, you have to divide the religion. It's similar to like here in the United States, we're called the United States of America, but right now it feels like we're the divided states of America. Like that's how you separate, that's how you kill a country. It's the same strategy of how you would go after a entire religion, is to divide the religion, divide and conquer. That's how conquerors have done it all throughout history.
Divide usually means getting them to fight against each other.
I've got a question.
Yeah, of course. Jake, I've
got a question for you, Jake. So this election that you guys coming up, to me on the outside looking in, and also I'm not as young as I look, right? And to me, this seems to be like one of the most significant elections of you guys' history, because I think whatever happens after whoever gets, I think literally it could lead to civil war. This is how I see it. Your country is so divided now. I think this election could actually lead to civil war. What do you think about that? Can you see that happening?
I remember Tim Pool talking about civil war for a while. I never really took it that way in the beginning, but I was like, civil war, I don't know about that. I feel like we have too many wars going on with other things that could cause it. But to be honest, if there's a civil war that happens, bro, it's probably going to be right-wing people finally getting fed up with the leftist media, the left-wing politicians, and these right-wingers. You know, I lean on the right. We do own guns, you know. We are tired of getting lied to. You saw J6, what happened on J6 with the Stop the Steal stuff, and they're punishing. Dude, you have Jeffrey Epstein clients that still haven't been arrested or exposed, but the FBI and our government is going after J6 protesters and wanting to throw them in jail for 20 years. How crazy is that, man? So obviously a lot of people are getting sick and tired of that. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised that if they end up fishy shit happens again, Donald Trump is somehow by some weird coincidence defeated in this next election. I wouldn't doubt that bro, it's civil war is kind of at hand. I can believe it because I think the only way to kind of salviate the country is to divide it now at this point. But
because I'm not a fan of Trump, but I'm not a fan of Trump, or obviously not a fan of Biden either. But the one thing I'm not stupid. I can literally see they are literally doing everything in their power to stop Trump. Like that, it's so obvious that they actually it's election interference. Some of the stuff, like I was watching the other day, this woman that they've got that accused him of rape. If you see the kind of woman the kind of thing that she's been saying, I'm like, who would even believe this woman? She said that rape is a good thing. She's actually saying rape is a good thing. I'm like,
and she's telling the story in her head. It's like,
how did
she's like turned on by it?
Rape is a good thing. Yeah, she said that. She's turned on by the rape scenes in Game of Thrones. I'm like, what kind of woman? But that's the thing that it tells me. there's obviously something fun. There's something very fishy going on, very fishy.
Yeah.
And the way that they're not
Yeah,
allowing them on the
exactly.
ballot,
No, it's very obvious.
yeah, it's so obvious that they're doing some, and that makes me trust the Democrats even less. That goes to show that maybe there was
Yeah.
dodgy stuff going on in the election. Then, when you go to that, when you
Yeah.
start doing stuff like that, it tells me maybe there was some funny stuff going on in the other election. Then,
Yeah.
there's definitely
Exactly.
something funny.
Yeah, that's how a lot of people feel.
Yeah, it's crazy
Yeah,
out
that's
there.
how a
It's
lot of people
crazy.
feel. Like I said, yeah. Yeah, like I said, man, like they're hunting down J6 protesters or rioters, whatever you want to call them, and then simultaneously they're ignoring the Jeffrey Epstein client list. Like this is all done on purpose. They want to go after the people that support Trump. They want to call them bigots and white supremacists. In fact, even they arrested the guy, the leader of the Proud Boys, that they deemed as a white supremacist group. The leader of the Proud Boys is a Hispanic guy. He's brown. He's brown skinned. But literally articles were coming out saying that now us brown skinned guys, Hispanics, I'm Hispanic myself, we're now considered white supremacists as well. Like Hispanics can now be white supremacists somehow. So when it's convenient for them, we're brown. And then when it's convenient for them again, we're white supremacists, right? So that's the lies that they tell us. It's one big giant psyop, man. This is why I strongly support Donald Trump, and this is why Donald Trump needs to win in 2024.
There's one thing that this slightly changing the subject a little bit. There's something that I am seeing, which I'm very happy to see, just changing dynamics of the conversation. That a lot of Black Americans are waking up to this Democrat nonsense. And they're realizing that these people do not have your best interests at heart. They've used you as a political tool, and they're waking up to it. And that's why I think is why they shifted they're trying to shift their support base to the LGBTQ crowd, because they think, okay, we've kind of run our course with the Black people in America who've kind of woken up, a lot of them now. And that's why they're creating such a base with this. They're pushing so much LGBTQ because they need that base as voters. It's real manipulation going on here. The manipulation is levels.
Yeah.
Could I?
No, a lot of Black people are waking up. Go for it, Hassan.
Sorry, guys. Just if I could just, because you guys were pretty focused a moment ago, so I just kept quiet. So if I could just clarify two things I may have said that may be misleading. One would be, this is in response to the Rashid's comment in the chat. When I said in terms of describing the how one can identify themselves in the UK in relation to being English and whatnot, I may have spoken confidently generally on all ethnic minorities, but that was just a given example when I referred to the Black community, the Black British community. But I'm certain when it comes to the Muslim identity. So that's why you see such pushback within the Muslim community against LGBTQ, because it's against their traditional values, their cultural traditional values, and it's not the religious commitment that pushes most people. Because, for example, you see protests in the UK by Muslim people in protesting outside of schools or in a variety of places against LGBTQ being taught in schools or whatever. Islamically, you're not even really allowed to protest. So it's incoherent. So it's more of a cultural thing rather than a religious thing. Because I definitely want JM. Sorry to interrupt, JM. I definitely want you to respond, because I said I was commenting on the statement that I made. I also want to clarify that there is transgenderism is acceptable in Iran. Iran isn't a case of a society being overwhelmed by secularism. Iran in the 70s was very secular, in the 60s was very secular.
Under the Shah.
A lot of the Muslim world was very secular and then becomes religious, and then it may be going back to being secular. And this is independent of a global conspiracy. Give people enough time and resources and peace and success, they will ultimately become secular and abandon religion. Religion in most cases is for people in crisis and poverty. That's where it overcomes a nation, in my experience. I can see Octavio getting ready to argue against this.
No, I hear your point. It's correct. You made a good point there, because it is a corrupted influence can cause a country to become secular. If you allow enough corrupted influence in,
Yeah.
it will subvert your nation.
Mhm.
Not all the way, obviously,
Mhm.
but there
Enough.
will be a quite a large percentage that will turn secular. But I want to make a point. It's interesting what you said when you said about how traditionally Muslims are not accepting of LGBTQ. That's the
Mhm.
same applies to the. I come from a Caribbean background. It's the same applies to my background.
Mhm.
Now, is it a coincidence now that, for example, on EastEnders you have a Muslim lesbian lady?
Mhm.
That's a
Mhm.
massive story. And
Mhm.
as you know, in a lot of these new shows,
Mhm.
they will specifically have a black person as an
Mhm.
LGBT character.
Mhm.
They will go out of their way to put a black person as an LGBT character in a lot of this. Now, this is done. We talk about trickling effect and the corruption of the leadership, of the Catholic Church. To me, it's the same thing. They literally are saying, you know what? Let's go to the communities where this is actually an issue. Pluck people out from that community, elevate them. So that in itself it is a corrupting influence where it becomes they try to make it accepted in communities where traditionally it wasn't accepted.
I disagree. I don't think
Okay,
it's an.
so Michael, so can I just ask a question?
Yeah.
Guys, what is the dominant culture of the world? First, John Michael, what do you think, bro?
Luciferian ideology.
Okay, Jake, what is the dominant culture of the world?
Dominant culture?
Yeah, what's the current dominant culture
Culture.
of the world right now? What is the dominant culture? When you think of a culture that dominates the world right now, what is the current dominant culture
Oh,
of the world? Sorry?
what would I? Well, how would I describe it? Hollywood culture,
Okay. Hassan, what is the dominant culture of the
like
world?
celebrities.
I would say secularism.
There you go. Basically, all you guys said the same thing. All right. Because they are all one and the same. All right. And this is the dominant culture of the world. So it's not surprising that it's spreading in Islamic countries. It's not surprising that it's spreading into religion. It's not surprising that it's spreading everywhere. All right. Because that's the dominant culture. And there is a force that pushes this dominant culture onto societies that don't believe in it, whether by force or by persuading them. They will do it somehow, some way. Okay, because they have an agenda. If God exists, God has an agenda. If Satan exists, Satan has an agenda. So both can't coexist. They have an agenda. They both want to take over the other. So what's happening is this culture, this satanic culture, as we call it, the Hollywood culture, the secular culture, is the main culture that's right now, okay, influencing the entire world. And because it's the dominant culture, whatever's more dominant will eventually trickle down. Whatever's more dominant will eventually corrupt everything else that's underneath. That's basically how it works. It's very simple because it's more dominant. It's everywhere. There's more of them than there is of you. They're more powerful. Your culture, Islamic culture, doesn't go around the world like that.
No.
People would rather watch Hollywood movies. Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
Yeah.
People would rather do what the Americans are doing, copying what the
Yeah.
what UK is doing. That's the dominant culture. That's the culture that's being transported all over the world.
Before I forget, let me just respond
Yeah.
to JM's point. I think the idea of promoting a Muslim gay person, that's a good question. Are they promoting the Muslim person, or are they promoting the is it promoting homosexuality or LGBTQ? Sorry, within that community. I think they're just trying to promote LGBTQ across all communities, and the minority is used as a piggyback for the social contagion, right? The
Okay, but
best
why?
example.
Why?
Uh, why not? Why not is a better question. I don't think they're the strangers. I don't think the LGBTQs are the strangers. I don't think the secularists are the strangers. I don't think Hollywood is the weird one. I think the believing Christian, Muslim, Jewish people with traditional values, they're the weird ones. And I think we're in the minority. That's why we're so
Yeah, I
easily
agree with that.
attacked from
Yeah,
all sides. I think that's why we're attacked from all sides. And
yeah.
our system is so fragile that a word like couple can cause a civil war. We can have a society where can't be gay, right? But you can be transgender.
No,
The idea of a Muslim nation is a phenomenon. It's never throughout most of the Muslim history it hasn't existed, and it's strange.
Hassan, I have to disagree a little bit with
Go
you.
ahead.
I think it's to do with the reason why they're so invested in, for example, as a Christian, the reason why they're so invested in destroying Christianity is because that's the only thing that can spiritually awaken people to actually fight against fight against their ideology. So, for example, right now there is no ideology. There is most people. I know Jake. We spoke about people being spiritually blind, and that's the reason why they are not able to rise up. There are ideologies that can wake up a person, and once it wakes them up, it can turn them into non-believers of the satanic ideology. So most people right now are in a dormant state. They will accept this ideology eventually. The reason why they're so invested in, for example, destroying Christianity is because there is in that ideology there is something that can awaken people and turn them against their ideology. That's why they're so invested in destroying that belief system. And they want to succeed in doing that because that's the only thing that can fight.
Will they succeed? Will they succeed? I think they will.
Hey, Octavio,
Yeah,
guys, real quick. Guys, I gotta hop off right now. I gotta hop off, gotta go already.
Yeah. We're gonna
go
What's up?
too.
Yeah.
That's the journey.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because I was like,
we're ending it now, Jake.
okay, yeah, let's okay.
Guys, solutions.
Yeah, wait, let's do the ending.
Solutions, go ahead. Last words, solutions.
Final words. Who wants to go first? I'll go first. So real quick, guys. So yeah, solutions. Going back to our first topic in the beginning of this stream, Jeffrey Epstein, right? Let's shoot it back here. Jeffrey Epstein, we have the documents on him. He's going down. All of the people that supported him, etc., the celebrities, Bill Clinton being the biggest name there. So I believe 100%. Yes, I know Octavio believes that, hey, just because the documents are coming out, it's not going to be making that much of a difference. We argued about that. I disagree. I think the solution is that we need to expose as many of these motherfuckers as possible, because that's the only way that the masses are going to be so much more aware of what's going on in this world. Because like I said, only a short 6-7 years ago, this was conspiracy theory. So the solution is we need to expose these types of people. Going back to the church that we were talking about earlier, solution, guys, we need to expose all these pedophilias that's going on, even in the Catholic religion, expose these churches that are shooting around their stupid little rainbow flags, call out all the fags that are trying to take over, call out the women that are trying to get into these churches and preach. I mean, this is just true, right? Feminism, that's a big wave as well. So any final thoughts, guys? That's what we need to do. And of course, I had fun. Great podcast. Great meeting you, JM. Hassan, thanks for the invite after our last night's podcast, anyways. So yeah, that's my final thoughts for this podcast stream.
I appreciate that, Jake. Appreciate that. John Michael, any solution?
Yeah. Just echoing a little what was said already, but yeah, the solution is you're got to be awake. Don't allow yourself to be so drawn into camps as well. This is my take from it. When you get yourself drawn into camps, that's when sometimes you can get the truth can become a bit convoluted. That's what I take from these conversations. I try to stay as objective as possible, and I think this is what is going to lead to people making better decisions in the future. Just be objective. What is good for you? What is good for society? Just focus on what's good for society and what's not good for society, and especially for the young people. What do we want what kind of world do we want our children to grow up into? And if you don't fight for that, world, you're gonna get the world that we're talking about now. Okay, it takes each person to fight for the world that we want for our children. If we don't do that, basically we're doomed, really.
Yeah, my solution is,
Nice.
guys, find an ideology that can protect you against their ideology. Okay, because they are the dominant culture, they are more influential than you are. They are trying to convert you to follow them. So if you don't have an ideology that can defend you against their ideology, you will succumb to their ideology. You will eventually convert or die. Basically, that's the only two options that you've got. So find something that can defend you, that can protect you against their ideology, and you might just save your lineage. You might just save your sanity. You might just save, all of that. That's the only solution that I believe humanity needs to worry about. Okay, because they are trying to convert you, and don't allow yourself to be converted by them. Hassan, what's your solution, bro?
I think you can only save yourself, your friends, and probably your family. We've essentially already lost in the war against this overwhelming, dooming secular immorality. We can't save the world because it was never our place to save the world. I think we're in the minority and we'll always lose. The only good that we do by speaking out is to bear witness against ourselves, to remind ourselves and remind those people closest to us. Secularism will always win, and we will always be playing catch up. We can sit here and worry about those in power flying off in secret to do whatever they're doing. In the case of Jeffrey Epstein and his clients, but you could just look next door or down the road, and you see people who will willingly say, "My kid is gay, my kid is transgender," right? Genetically mutilating the genitals of their own children, right? So we've already lost, and all you can do is try to save yourself and those who are closest to you, to be honest with you.
Guys, just want to say thank you guys for shouts to Jake for joining us, shouts to John Michael for joining us, for blessing the stage. And yeah, let's keep booking these these podcasts and discussing these very important topics. KD made a very important observation. He said, "Men like you are waking other men up," and I think that's the only thing we can do, is wake up other men. And that's the reason why these conversations are so important, and why we need this type of platforms, because we go into a lot of depth, and we actually try to get to the root of it all. So guys, just want to salute you guys for joining, for being here today. Really appreciate it, and keep booking these conversations, guys. Yeah,
Yeah.
Take care, people.
Right on.
take care, people. Salute.
All the
All
best.
right. Take care, man.
Take care,
Have a
guys.
good one, guys.